I'm wrapping up some stuff, so just roll it
As
out.
prepared as mental is,
He's mentally prepared.
Now, different camera angle this week.
Ching.
All right.
He's going to move his camera a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, I finally got the big monitor to work.
Good.
That's great. I can't get the speaker to work.
Thanks for coming to this professional podcast
I know.
that we run
I
here.
know. I know.
147 episodes. I want to say that. 147.
It's not so bad.
And we're playing it out of your phone.
And it's kind of loud.
It is.
How's that?
That's better. That's
All
better.
right. Welcome to Everyone Racers, a show designed for the world of low-dollar racing and oddball car culture. It doesn't matter what kind of Lemma-Champ or Lucky Track Dog League you run, SCCA or NASA, we won't discriminate, as long as you drive it hard and built it yourself. Join us each week for tech discussion, tips, tricks, news and notes in the world of amateur endurance racing, and whether it's on the spot, hella sweet, or we're lucky enough and Chrissy gives us just a tip, we're sure you'll giggle a little and learn even less. Everyone, report to the paddock.
This is Chris.
This is Chrissy.
I'm Jeff.
And I'm mental.
And we are Everyone Racers. Thanks for coming back and listening to another... God, why do you always give me things to say in other languages?
You have been in the show notes. You have been in the show notes for the last 45 minutes.
Kleinlieferwagen?
Yeah, that's pretty good. The key to German is you say every word, every letter. Kleinlieferwagen.
Kleinlieferwagen episode of our podcast. It's 147, and we Americans all know what the Type 147 was. It was the Volkswagen version of the postal van built in the 60s. No, I had no clue. If you're not driving a car, don't forget the E1R bingo card. The link is in the show notes. Even if you're watching on YouTube, check out the show notes. And you can join us for bingo. And I feel like I'm going to get bingo if I have boat on my bingo card.
Doesn't count if you say it.
Chris, what are you working on?
On the boat.
Since we have a guest, why don't you be a little more specific?
Yeah. Chrissy and I are restoring our 1982 Boston Whaler that we've had in my family since 1991. It's a 17-foot Montauk. Ed and I have been through a lot of adventures together, and we decided this year there was enough field expedient repairs that had been done in Cape Cod over the course of a half of a day on a weekend that we said, well, let's do it right. So we stripped it all down to a bare hull and proceeded to fix all kinds of things and then repaint it. So we were putting the final coats of paint on this weekend, and then it was going to be actually we put the final coat of paint on yesterday, Tuesday. We cut off work a little bit early, put the last coat of paint on. Everything had been going well, and the last coat went terribly. It was a different quart of base stock paint. And instead of the beautiful gloss that everything else had, it went on flat. It went on poorly. It didn't.
I was like,
blend well.
This is not the same paint. Like,
there's
something wrong.
I had mixed 12 batches of this stuff before. You do it in small batches so it flows well. And this one last batch that we needed for the last bit of things came out really poorly.
Was it not even like the whole boat is covered in it? Like only a section?
Correct.
Half.
In different spots.
Like a third. Yep.
It's not just like the outside, inside on one half. It's like the inside of half of it, like different parts of the boat.
That's
that's why you can tell is the last coat.
Let me tell you that I saw this between coat 1 and coat 2.
Now you saw, was it 1 and 2, or you saw coat 2?
No.
Oh, it was 1 and 2. You're right.
1 and 2.
Between coat 1 and 2, and it was gorgeous. It was like gleaming and beautiful and shiny.
And 2 looked even better. We looked at 2. I was like, we could be done. It looks that good.
But we needed another coat on the inside because it was a little blotchy because the primer didn't go very well. So, all right, we got to put the third coat on. And now
the first 2 went so well.
Yeah.
You were like, oh, why not do another coat? That's fine.
Mental.
I got to say, you guys are handling this so well because just the act of sanding had you guys depressed.
Oh, you didn't see us an
You
hour
didn't see us
ago.
earlier. You didn't see us earlier, and this is why this is happening, because
Yeah.
you didn't see what happened earlier.
Ooh, Chrissy's drinking during the week. You know it's out of control now.
I mean, at this point, we have devoted every daylight waking minute of our lives that we're not working for the last 2 months to this project.
Last night we worked till 9:30. We worked 3 to 9:30 yesterday.
Yeah.
Just yesterday. It was a Tuesday.
I'm laughing at your 9:30, but that's okay.
Yeah, well,
But I work
standing out in my driveway.
I
On
work
the
from
stupid
9:30
damn
till
boat.
midnight. So
Chrissy was up past 9:30. You need to wrap your head around this. severity
you
of
can't work on outside stuff after
Yeah,
9:30. It's already bad.
know.
So the hard part is, and this is a total first world problem, I'm upset because my boat doesn't look very nice. But
and you can't take it to the Cape when it
well,
doesn't.
no,
look nice.
we're still going to take it. But the whole thing is, we have been working on one thing or another for months and months and months. Like, we haven't had a weekend off since last fall, maybe, because it's been one thing or another. It's been the house, and then the race cars, and then the trailer, and then the boat. And the boat we have been putting in full throttle every waking minute. And all of it in my head was leading up to, now because I can work from home this summer, this is going to be so great. We're going to go to the Cape. We're going to live at the Cape House. We're going to go out in the boat. We're going to have a wonderful time. And I can put in the time now because I'm going to get to relax later. And now we still can, but the boat's going to look like shit. And it's so disturbing.
Most of my stuff looks like shit, so I would probably just scuff it, buff it, and run it.
Yeah.
I'm
It's
there.
a shame.
I'm saying that we should be doing this, but Mr. Perfectionist who can't level set.
We can scuff it, buff it, and run it. It's still going to look like shit. And that's the problem. Like, we can't put the floor down because we have this teak floor that's all made for it. I can't put it down because the edges next to where the teak floor is going to go, it's like it's blown through the paint in a couple spots. It looks bad. And when we go to redo it next year, then now I'm going to have to tape off around the floor really well and blah, blah, blah. So just not going to put the floor down. And just going to put the seat on, put the console on, put the motor on, and send it.
What is the boat version of just turn up the radio and ignore it?
Well, if you do that in a boat, then suddenly you're just floating out.
No.
Swimming. I think
like
swimming is the version.
Yeah. Like throw down some industrial carpet and just go.
We're
I'm
just
sorry.
Can
I say this?
painted.
Have you met my husband?
I have, yes.
That's why we're doing this.
Incidentally, this is the boat they were married in. They weren't married last time you were with us.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
But
so different. No,
yeah.
I think you had been.
They just got engaged, I think.
We're going to be
or
together for a
they
million
announced-
years.
They'd driven up to get their marriage license from the one civil servant who works, from 9 to 2 only
did you?
a week.
On Thursdays, yeah. But now,
When we had seen each other at Radwood, that was post marriage.
I think so.
Yep.
Whatever, one of those times.
Because they were asking about going up there in the NSX, and the deal was lie and say that you modified the front end, and it's a 99.
Right. Yeah, it's a 99.
Totally. But mental, see, you are the beneficiary of my anal retentiveness.
Oh,
so
have you heard me making any cracks about just send the boat? No.
Actually, all y'all except Bradley are the beneficiaries of my anal retentiveness in making stuff good.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I'm done. We're gonna
Chrissy,
go.
do you have anything to add to this other than you've been working on the boat? I don't want to.
No, but my whole life has been, and we've taken off time. I've left. My boss called me, I don't even know what day, and it was close to quitting time. And he was like, are you on the boat? And I was like, yeah, I am.
Well, you're on the boat in the driveway. It's not
you're on the
sanding
machine. He knew where I was, what I was doing, but I was like, he was like, oh, it's close to 4. It's fine. I'll talk to you tomorrow. And I was like, no, if you want me to run back to my computer, I can. And he was like, nope. He's like, I want the boat in the water by before 2021.
Right. And also he's like, and honestly, I don't want to talk to you while you're staying in the boat. You're not receptive.
Oh, right. You can't. All you hear is.
So anyway,
I'm tired. I need a vacation.
We're gonna throw on all the things that are necessary to make the boat work, like the seat, the console, the motor, the railings, the fuel system.
Drive around on big trash night. drive around a big trash night, find somebody's carpet somebody's throwing away.
No, I don't need
That would be
carpet.
so gross.
Just lay it down. It'll be
Yeah.
fine.
This is not a boat that has carpet. It always has had non-skid molded in, and so it still has said non-skid molded in, but it's just all gross now because we like.
All right,
sanded
that's
it down
enough
and
about the
stuff.
boat. Stop. I'm
Anyway.
gonna start crying.
Sorry, Mental. What are you doing?
So I had to Mercedes parts order. The aromatic shocks failed. We talked about that last week. I finally got a hold of Arnott. They no longer sell to the public, but
What?
they don't sell directly to the public. They only distribute. So she's like, do you have an account number? I'm like, no, I'm just buying them for my car. She goes, oh, hey, but she was very, very helpful and walked me through. We made sure I had exactly the part number that I needed. Something I did not know until I talked to Arnott is their remanufactured units are also guaranteed for the life of the car as long as I own it. It's non-transferable lifetime warranty on Arnott's rebuilt shocks. So they will be arriving at my local O'Reilly's Friday night, maybe Saturday morning. But I spent money with Hugo this morning, and so he ordered my
air
shock.
suspension.
Yeah. Last time you were here, Chris was talking about his AMG. His AMG is now my AMG. I was right. I sent you a picture of that one. So, came home the other day with a red warning that said car too low. And then I
said no such thing.
Yeah.
Like that. Does that mean awesome?
And I went and got my sticker on the back of it, said, I'm not slow, I'm just going over a speed bump, and then started driving like this. But I brought it in and went through all the troubleshooting guide, checked the air hoses, and then checked the pump, and it'll raise up and then settle back down, raise up, settle back down. Then it makes a sound like a balloon when you pinch the neck and make it go, and then it really squats and quits trying to air up at that point. So the consensus is it's the aromatic stuff. We had, with the warm weather and then fresh off all the stuff all out of my trees, we had to actually go and consult pool experts. So we've been working all week on pool problems. We had mustard algae, a lot of first world problems here, Brad. I see the look in your eye.
Yeah, my Mercedes air shocks don't work. I can't take my boat to the
My
Cape.
boat's the wrong color.
Right. Yeah.
Or it's the right color, it's just the wrong shade.
It's true.
And,
it's not shiny enough, damn it.
But while I got the stuff off there, I was I started fiberglassing over the holes that had worn in the plastic undercarriage. When it came off, it be at 150. So got that done. And the majority of this week has been actually tending to our now diabetic dog.
Which one?
Wait, which one?
Rika, she
Aw.
literally collapsed Monday morning. And Vicky came in and was kind of panicked. And I went out there, and as she was starting to recover, she looked at me and growled because she had no idea who I was, and then wandered around the yard very confused. So then she kind of got back to it. We took her up there. And so, that day with the COVID, I can't go in the vet office. So the local animal hospital has you sit in the car, and then they've got your pet's name on a little stick on the windshield. The Volkswagen got 6 miles per gallon that day because it sat in front of this place for 10 hours. The initial diagnosis was cancer. And then, so then they came back and said, oh, wait, no, it's not it. So we don't know. So she's got diabetes and ketoacidosis. So while they've been trying to level out her insulin levels every day, she spends the entire day at the vet clinic. And then at night, she goes to an emergency clinic where they can monitor her overnight, trying to get that in there. And yesterday, she, when we picked her up and brought her to the animal hospital, she is just dug in. She's like, no, I'm not going in. And like we had to force her into the vet hospital. And so then last night she was kind of out of it, and we had a big crying session and decided if she was not doing better today that we were going to make the call. But she walked out this morning, saw Vicky, her little useless nub started wagging, and like a big dumb dog she is, she's trying to jump in the truck. I'm like, you stop, let me just put you in the truck. And so they called about 20 minutes before we started, and they've got it standardized. They're going to keep her one more night, and she comes home tomorrow, and for the rest of her life will awaken every day to me giving her a shot. When I was growing up, we had a diabetic dog. That dog lived like another 5 years. So
Go to lay off the Twinkies.
Exactly.
Seriously. So now when I call her Chunky, Vicky takes offense. Hey, stop making fun of her. Yeah.
She's got a medical problem. She's not fat.
Exactly. It's a medical issue. The other two are just jerks.
Well, that's
No, they're not too bad.
So handed me the Chihuahua and goes, "This thing is exhausting. Take it away from me."
Oh man. Well, is that it? That's all I got?
That's it.
Jeff.
Okay.
Jeff,
So I'll go.
what are you working on?
So
Not like I don't know.
I
but-
know. So I was listening to Lemon's Thursday Therapy, and I heard. Does anybody know the guy who runs the Concours de Le Mans? Brad, you
I
know
do,
that one?
yeah.
Yeah. What's his name? Alan
Galbraith.
Galbraith. Thank you. So Alan mentioned that he's throwing a big car show there for the Concours de Lemons, and he talked about all these famous people who are judging and how big it's going to be. And I said, wait, I have a crappy car that I need shown in front of the world. So I quickly dialed up Chris and Chrissy and I said, let's work on the Citroën. Let's get rid of it. We must have it gone. And we did. So I drove between Coates to the Chris and Chrissy factory in lovely woods of Eastern PA, Southeastern PA. And what do? We cleaned it. We pictured all the parts. We got photos of all the parts.
We tried to charge the battery.
We tried to charge the battery.
Even though it was on a maintainer for years.
Why did we not bring any tools?
We didn't bring any tools.
How dumb are we?
I know,
know
because
the car wasn't running. Like it's been
Because
4 years.
it ran when parked, yo.
4 years
And-
ago.
And I had it in a
Really,
battery.
we're so dumb.
And
Well,
it's
when I parked it,
It's
when I
French.
parked it, I unplugged the fuel pump and let the carb suck himself dry. And then I had a battery on a maintainer the whole time. I was like, well, it's
So
gonna be
what
fine.
tool did we use to try to look into the carbs?
Well, we took the 10/12 millimeter wrench out of the trunk of the NSX because we had the NSX and the Corvette. So,
So when you have to push a car. Oh, we didn't get there yet.
Yeah.
Okay, no.
Hold on.
Back up. Hold on.
We may have to change the name of this podcast. This is the most first world thing we've ever done.
I know. My
my
French
Mercedes
super car from the 70s.
race
that-
car.
Race
Super
car, excuse me. I believe I said in the video that we took that it was the world's most decorated winning road racing Citroen SM in the world on the internet. Today.
I think
I'm
United
pretty sure.
States. I don't know if it was the world.
I know. I'm joking.
Okay.
So we are getting ready to sell the Citroen. It is cleaned. Chris, is it running?
No.
Chrissy, do we have a title?
No.
Are we going to sell it anyway?
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. So
I
if
would, like to
anybody
get,
is,
I would like to get it running though.
yeah,
because-
we will get it running because it's only really needs a battery jump and maybe a little spray of some throttle juice down the throats there, and it'll
All
go.
you need is air and fuel and spark. That's it.
Yeah. No,
Needs-
If
it'll
only it
needs-
was that easy.
Needs
I mean,
full
yes.
pump. Needs full
He's-
pump. Ran
He's
great.
done this. I have seen Bradley do this with multiple cars. You
I
give him a
have.
set of you give him a set of overalls. He's got the unearthing and resurrecting a car.
If
down.
there's nothing broken, I can get a stationary car for 10 years running in a day.
Yeah, but
Oh,
what tools
yeah.
do you need?
Yeah, that's the
All
problem.
of
We
them.
didn't bring a single
All of them, right? We can too. We just need some tools.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It ran great when parked. Like it had just run 1,000 miles at a Lemons race flawlessly, actually. Oh well.
Oh well. So we slightly pushed it downhill to get it out of the garage storage, and then we just slightly pushed it uphill to get it back in the storage with the Honda Civic race car.
We did not believe Chris that he was like, you can't push it. We're like, no, we can. So Jeff and I are
No,
like pushing.
you
And we're
can't.
like, are you sure it's in neutral? Because we can't.
Yeah. It's when it's in hella flush dumped mode, something rubs a little bit on the Citroen, and it doesn't push well. Believe me, I have pushed it many times, and they didn't believe me at all. I was like, no, we're gonna have to get the Civic out, and the Civic's gonna have to push it in because what else are you gonna push it in with, the Corvette?
Now, Chris, you
The
have
NSX?
mentioned several times that the Honda Civic race car is ready to go, correct?
Yeah, it was.
Was it ready to go?
No.
It was great until I tried to move. And then apparently while sitting in storage since March, the right rear brake has locked up hard. Like I tried to move it and
I was like, hey, that tire's not moving.
yeah, thanks, Jeff. It started to move a little bit once it hit the pavement off the garage floor. But when I parked it in the storage garage, I even didn't put the e-brake up. So I was like, I don't want the brakes to stick. I'll just leave the e-brake down, just leave it in gear. Totally fine.
Stuck anyway.
It moved a little. I have a new caliper for it when it gets here.
Old car shit happens all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you guys know it was in neutral?
What was in neutral? The Citroen?
We didn't know.
Well, we pushed it out.
Because if you push it down, also we're pushing it up the hill slightly. Like it
How
will
do you?
go.
I'm sorry. Let me ask the question a different way. How do you put it in neutral?
You reach up and you grab the dong, and you
yeah.
push on the head.
Pushing exactly, and then you work it a little. You got to go back and forth because the shifter cable's a little sloppy.
There's a prosthetic marital aid on the shifter of the.
Yeah.
Because it was broken when we got it, and that seemed like the best fix.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So yeah, so I'll quickly run through what else I did. I got new shoes for the Corvette. I mentioned that I went to the tire rack there and picked them up. I put them on, and safety tip, everybody: 15-year-old stock tires, no matter how much tread are left,
make
are
great
really bad, really bad.
Bad idea.
Yeah. I put those new tires on, and it was like a completely different car. Thank God.
And
For those of you who don't know,
not only would 15-year-old tires be a bad idea to begin with, but new tires are so much more advanced than 15-year-old tires.
Oh,
when they're brand new.
Yeah, well, and it's a 2006 C6, and my mother-in-law had it and drove it like less than 100 miles a year for the 10 years that she had it. And then we've put like 5,000, 10,000 on it now, and the tires were just dry rotted and cracked. And I kept saying, like, I don't want to be Paul Walker. I know these tires are bad. I know these tires are bad, but I didn't realize how bad they really were.
Yeah.
It's insidious. All tire stuff like that is insidious.
For how easily you were doing a burnout while we were sitting at the stoplight in Reading, you should have known.
I knew.
I drove a Porsche GT2 back to back with stock tires. This was several years ago, so they were not that old, but they were pretty old. Back to back with stock tires, and then modern Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2s, and it was like undrivable on the original tires and on modern sticky rubber. Even like 5 years of advancement makes such a huge difference that, like, I can't imagine. Everybody says, you know, Carrera GTs or whatever are undrivable these days, and if you put it on modern rubber, it would probably be a great car.
Yeah,
it's only a 600 horsepower car. There's way more advanced stuff than that now.
Yeah, the average like
Corvettes
Mustang.
are 750 now. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, I put on new Conti Sport Contact Pro, whatever the Extreme Contact Sports, whatever the replacement was for the DWs, and they're amazing. I love them. Everybody go buy them. I'm done talking about my stuff. Let's get to the new voice. We have a new voice, not a new voice. He's been here before. You probably heard it. Returning guest. Mental obviously did this research because he's the one that does it from episode 51. So it's been like 100 weeks since you've been here. That's like 2 years. Bradley Brownell.
Hello.
So this is what Mental said. So let's fact check it because he's not always correct. Basset Hound enthusiast.
I have two. They're sleeping on the couch right now.
Radwood founder and principal head muckety muck.
We'll say co-founder. There's 4 of us founders, and I am the marketing director, I guess. But we all kind of wear every hat. So.
Okay. Weekend editor for Jalopnik.
No longer weekends, evenings.
But you were the weekend.
I was the weekend editor.
Okay, all right. I will be okay with that then.
I do.
Did you get promoted or find something else?
Basically, this was when Patrick George was still the editor-in-chief several months ago. He said, "I can tell you're burned out. And I know you're working too hard. So I'm going to give you the same amount of money for less work." And I said, "Sounds good."
Sold.
Yay.
and that's who Patrick George is. He's
yeah. That's cool.
And I'm sad to see him gone. I think Rory Carroll is a good.
Rory's great. I mean, I was bummed when Patrick left, but I get it. The higher ups, the people above him, he didn't really mesh well with their way of running the business. So I can't blame him, and he got a better offer to go to the job.
No, and I think he knew he was going to be tilting at that particular windmill, but he had to.
Sure.
And God bless him for having the intestinal fortitude to do it.
And Mike Balaban took over when Patrick left, and I miss Mike dearly, but he got a better offer and decided to take it. And Rory is doing a great job as editor-in-chief of Jalopnik, and I've worked with Rory in the past. He actually gave me my break, kind of, in 2017, when he put my 912E on the cover of the Auto Week magazine. So I really enjoy working with Rory. He's a great dude. So yeah, and then I also run flat6s.com. I'm kind of the editor-in-chief there. It's a Porsche site, so go check that out if you're into Porsche stuff.
I had forgotten about the flat sixes. Yeah,
That's all right.
Now, do you allow like 914 people there? We have a very concerned friend that, he only has that is his Porsche.
Yeah.
Actually, I shouldn't say that because he has a
993 and a Cayman S.
I know, but his heart is in the 914.
And he's got a home-built 914.6.
That's his friend.
I run the Flat Sixes site, and only one of my 3 Porsches have a Flat Six.
There you go. Okay, so he's allowed in.
I have the 912E that's a Flat 4, and I have a 944 that's kind of a Slant 4.
Slant 4, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
So, what are you working on? This is the what are you working on section. So I kind of think maybe we already know, but tell us what you're working on.
Well, I think there's a segment for this later in the show notes, but lately I've been working on my new house and my new garage, and I have a couple of project cars. I've got a 76 912E and a 97 Porsche Boxster that's gonna be a hybrid track car, crazy supercar thing.
Is that the one that stranded you at the Clown Motel?
It is.
Nice.
The very same.
Yeah, we talked about that last time. That was a great story. I had to look up that place afterwards. That was frightening and wonderful at the same time.
Yeah. So that was, I was on my way to SEMA, and the idler pulley decided to back out. The bolt that holds it in, it decided to back out. So I didn't have power steering, air conditioning, or more importantly, coolant.
You don't need any of those things, I don't think.
Right. Yeah.
They're all optional.
So without the serpentine belt, the motor gets very hot very quickly, and I was about, I would say, 45 miles from Tonopah when it broke, and so I had to start the car, drive it as far as I could, watching the temperature go up and up and up, and then shut it off, coast to the side of the road, wait an hour for it to cool off, start it up, drive again. So I was doing about 10 miles at a time through the night Nevada desert getting to Tonopah.
Yeah, and this is the absolute, like, it's not the middle of nowhere, but you can see it.
It's
from
adjacent.
There.
It's a nowhere adjacent.
It's very nowhere adjacent.
And you're at almost 6,000 feet.
Yes. Yeah. So there's not really air there. And it was very cold, and it was November, being SEMA week. So
yeah. I got to see that hotel in person a couple of weeks ago, and I sent Bradley a text.
What the hell are you doing in that cursed place?
Mm-hmm.
Was that the trade-off of the solstice? Mental.
No, that was the week I couldn't be here.
Oh, okay. That was the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I'm glad to hear that you do house and car stuff, because next to the Rona, we've only been really doing house stuff. Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And boat.
And boat.
Yeah.
That boat's gonna come to a Radwood eventually, right?
It is now.
It is now.
I didn't know.
Radwood
I didn't know boats are invited, right?
Yeah.
And my tow vehicle is not Radwood eligible, but
I mean, you can just park it behind the NSX and say that you can pose it for photos. That
right.
Like I towed
NSX
this.
Towed it, yeah.
Yes.
Obviously, it wouldn't be hooked up or anything.
You could borrow your in-laws' Suburban and lie about the year.
I mean, my Suburban's the same year as yours. I mean, it's an 03. It's 99.
I mean, that'd be fine. It's a 99.
Yeah.
Actually,
feels like
your Suburban is unique because it's quadra steer. They don't make that anymore.
Whoa. Oh, cool.
Now we're
It is.
talking.
Now it can show up. It's weird. It's awesome. So we're going to be talking to Brad a lot in a little bit. So we'll put a cap on some of this because we're definitely going to talk about Radwood and we're going to talk about a few other things.
But jump in because your opinions probably lines up with all of ours on anything that we're going to talk about.
Yeah. I was going to say
useless. So
let's
so
move
is ours,
on.
but that's okay.
Let's move on to news and notes. I'm trying not to yell because I know our friend from Europe is listening.
Hurling.
Yeah. I was initially going to give this to Jeff because it fell in there, but under the heading of, no, really, screw you, 2020. Grant Imahara, host of Mythbusters and the White Rabbit Project, has passed away at age 49 following a brain aneurysm. Now, I liked Grant. He was proof that we really are living in the age of the geek. He was an electrical engineer, worked at Lucasfilm and under the ILX, their illusion lighting and design. He worked on projects like The Matrix Reloaded and Revolutions, Galaxy Quest, Triple X, Van Helsing, Lost World, AI, and Terminator 3. He also built a champion battle bot called Deathblow, and it was season 1 of BattleBots. It was their top-ranked robot. He was played Sulu in an unofficial web-based continuation of the Star Trek series.
I had no idea about that one.
I didn't either. And it just I liked him, and then I read more about him. I'm even more impressed about him. And no one has said anything bad. All of his fellow co-hosts said, we've really lost something, and I agree on that one. My favorite quote is in a 2008 interview. Grant said, "When I was a kid, I never wanted to be James Bond. I wanted to be Q because he was the guy that made all the gadgets." Young people, hear my voice. Forget social media influencers as a way of life. If you want to make a mark on this world, go be a geek. Links in our show notes.
Nerds rule.
That sucked a lot. I mean, what got me into wrenching was Mythbusters. I mean, that show was huge when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And
and it was very clear in that show that he was like one of the higher tech. Like, everybody knew how to do stuff. I don't want to disparage anybody else's skills. But while other people are really good at like levers and things that move, he could really do like the higher tech electronic, animatronic kind of stuff. So pour one out.
Yeah.
Rather just popped one for Grant Imahara.
Yeah, that sucks.
Wow. So in a giant race to combine all the oddest designers and automotive designers into one giant car company, FCA, that's Fiat Chrysler, and Peugeot are merging. Fresh off the presses here. 100 buku bucks. By the way, buku bucks are redeemable for absolutely nothing. To anyone on this podcast who hasn't read this on the internet yet, who could tell me what the new company's name is. Now, I'll give you a hint. FCA was Fiat Chrysler Automotive, United States American Liability Limited Company. And then Daimler-Benz used to own Chrysler, and they called themselves Daimler Chrysler.
Daimler
Chrysler, thank you. I told you. Don't know how to pronounce anything. What would you call the new company that Fiat Chrysler Peugeot?
and Peugeot is called PSA. So like a lot of people were saying it was going to be FCA PSA or something like that.
I feel like this is that Will Ferrell skit where they're wearing the shirts with their names on it, and he keeps dancing to the front, and they have to cut.
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. Fred, introduce the new Fred. I'm
going to say F-cap.
F-cap. No. Chrissy.
I'm trying to put all the letters together and figure out what you've.
It's not going to help.
It's not. Oh, it's hard. I keep trying to like sound out like. That's what I came up with.
Okay, it just Metzler, you got a guess here. Clearly, Bradley knows.
I'm going to go with crap.
That would be awesome.
Right.
Brad, do you want to tell him?
Yeah, actually, it's Stellantis.
Stellantis. STELLANTIS.
Yep.
WTF.
What is that?
I have no idea.
It's something about rising stars. I don't know.
I bet they paid a marketing company
I'm sure they
$30,000.
did. A lot of Boku bucks.
No, actually, they're pivoting from cars to ED drugs. So
There you go. It does sound like. Ask your doctor if
yeah,
Stellantis,
if Stellantis
is right for you.
I really thought you
You
were.
can't afford your Stellantis.
that is,
AstraZeneca may be able to
AstraZeneca
help.
can help. That's right.
I
I
actually
think
thought you were
that's-
serious, and I was like, oh,
I feel like
okay.
that's the one product I would actually trust the French with. Is
could be right.
erectile dysfunction. Because I'm not buying erectile dysfunction from the Germans. I'll buy a car from them all day, but.
Okay, on to more news. The worst kept secret car launch in human history has finally launched. We can all now see the new/old Bronco. How do we feel?
I changed your article link on that one. I felt that this opinion
Yes,
piece was
and
was
I'm
much,
glad I opened it and
much
started
better.
reading before I started dissing the
No, I didn't
car
read
that
that one.
I'm looking at. You should open it and look at who wrote it.
Yeah.
Because,
Oh.
yes.
That
It's
would show
about
up
damn
on my
time
news feed. I'm like,
that
all right,
someone-
I like it.
It's a good time someone actually challenged a Wrangler. They've been selling a metric
Well, a
ass ton of those.
boatload. Absolutely.
As long as it's not supposed to be a Bronco, then maybe. If it's like
Well,
a big,
This is what the old Bronco was, kinda.
was it?
Absolutely.
You only remember the you only
You
remember
take
the
the doors
OJ
off?
kind.
Yeah, I
Oh,
only
yeah,
remember the
absolutely.
OJ kind. Was there
The
one before that?
There was, it's
Yeah.
from the
Uh-huh.
60s. The one that
Yeah.
won the
Not
Baja.
Parrot, a car. Yeah, Baja. Thank you.
Yeah. In fact, there's that movie I tried to get you guys all to watch. James Garner's that racing scene. In the beginning of it, he's racing the Baja 500 in a 6970 Bronco.
Also
it's awesome.
appeared in the
he
original.
actually did that in real life.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's a great It's not even a documentary. It's a movie James Garner made trying to fund his race team, All American Racers, and it's James Garner at prime. James Garner. He's still thin.
I'll
He's got a
definitely have to
beard.
check
He's
that out.
smoking. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
anyway, we're talking news and notes.
We-
Bradley, tell
we
me
had
what's
the
in your
choice.
article.
We had the choice to make either Steve McQueen or him cool, and we chose Steve McQueen, and I think that was the wrong choice.
I
Anyway.
feel like
that's
I feel
fighting
like
words for
long
mental.
term. No, I will always go James Garner, and I love Steve McQueen, but I'll pick James Garner every time. But I think over the span of life, I think James Garner won that one.
Yeah. So the new Bronco. I'm not an SUV guy. I really don't care about it. And yeah, so you can buy a Bronco with holes in the doors, and I thought that was humorous. So a little thing about that, and the last car that was available with holes in the doors, which was the McLaren Senna. So if you didn't get a Senna for $1.2 million, and you
can have
want
a
to have a car
Bronco.
with holes in its doors, hey, the Bronco's there for you.
And I
There you
think
go.
you started a slight internet trend because all the Photoshops I'm seeing now are people putting holes in the bottom doors of like Daihatsu Rockies and old Suzuki Samurais. And, there was a Lexus running around there where they'd Photoshop the hole in the bottom of the door. And it actually adds to each of those designs. There's something to that.
I don't know. Pull the
So,
door off.
is-
Don't.
During
this gonna
Car
be-
Week, 7-8 years ago, during Car Week, I was there and I saw an Audi R8 convertible with holes in the doors that somebody had added like aftermarket, and I was like, "What on earth did they just do? That looks terrible."
The newest trend.
I
Could it be worse
think,
than hella tight? I mean,
I
what
think
would you
this is
rather
going to be
have?
the car at SEMA next year that we have to have
Oh.
a counter.
Yeah,
Ding,
ding,
Oh,
ding,
ding,
ding, ding,
ding,
ding, ding, ding, like the
100%.
Supra last year.
So
Right,
this the good thing about this is that it'll be at SEMA this year. Oh no, it won't, because they won't make them until they're already launching it like 7 months.
21,
before.
yeah.
Yeah.
So dumb. Anyway,
I feel like somebody's going to try though, or at least like they'll have posters of what they're going to do.
Ford
there
will
were
bring it.
already a bunch of vintage Broncos at
Yes.
SEMA last year
There was.
because
Absolutely.
it was becoming a thing already.
I mean, the world of classic 4x4s has just gone huge in general. I mean, if it's got a transfer case and it was made in 77, the price has tripled.
And then double that if the top comes off. So original
Yeah.
Blazers,
Yeah,
Broncos,
K5 Blazers,
Scouts.
Nationals.
Scouts.
Yeah.
Stop buying my Scouts. They're for me, damn it.
What happened
Even-
to yours? Oh,
even
that's
in
right.
the
Your
80s,
mom
like-
scrapped it when you were
Yes,
gone.
yes, thanks.
Oh.
Even in the 80s, like RAV4s, if you can take the roof off, those are going
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah. The little
Trackers.
two-door guys, yeah.
Trackers.
Yeah.
Someday I'm going to get rich by hoarding trackers. Oh, man.
Please don't.
Upcoming races. Do we have any upcoming races?
Yeah, AER is at pit race this weekend, apparently.
Whoa!
51 cars, 29 of them are BMWs.
Not a surprise. I don't even get to say
Boring.
Yeah. 4 Miatas, no Hondas, and 9 Porsches, and an Audi R8. Really?
Can you turn the light on?
Yeah.
Yep. So
Thank
we're headed to pit ourselves the weekend after. So don't mess it up for us with your BMWs and stuff. Yeah. Champ is at Nelson's Ledges. Also 51 cars, 13 BMWs. That's a much better BMW ratio. Thank you, Champ. 11 Miatas, 4 Hondas, 3 Porsches, and a Beretta. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. That's going to win.
It better be a GTU. That's all I'm saying.
Dominate.
Turquoise GTU.
It's a winning in our hearts at the very least, no doubt.
No,
So,
it needs to be a turquoise, just straight up GT that belonged to a hairdresser. Automatic.
3.1.
There
Nice.
it is.
Yeah.
Makes that great GM V6 sound.
So wait a minute. If there were races coming up, does that mean there were races that happened?
Maybe.
Indeed, there were, Jeff. Why, just this past weekend, World Racing League was at Road Atlanta. As of recording time, through all of our sources, we were unable to get their results, but want to thank Ronald Till and the rest of the WRL crew, because they did get us that entry list last week, and hope in the sense that there is no news, which means there was no horrible news. So we hope all those guys had fun and they were safe.
We did not see any horrible news out of there. And Champ Car was at Charlotte last weekend. 34 cars, 8 BMWs, 5 Miatas, 3 Hondas, 1 P-Car, and a 96 Buick Roadmaster wagon.
Nice.
Looking at this guy over there. And a 14-hour race won handily by NLS Racing in a Nissan 240SX. 9 laps back was After Dark Speed in a boring 89 BMW, beating the other boring BMW of Thrive Racing by almost 20 laps. So they were way out ahead.
20 laps.
Wow.
Jesus.
So first had a 29 lap lead over third. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's a lot. You can rest a little on that game.
Yeah.
The Buick wagon, 14th overall.
Well
Holy
done.
crap.
that's good.
Out of 34 cars, 26 cars, including the Dr. Florida Mandani Racing Camry, lost to a Buick Roadmaster. They were 4th in class in D, but number 1 in San Diego's heart.
Donnie
I just wonder if
they've lost like 4 cars in the last 2 weeks.
Well,
Not
he
going well.
roasted this one. Yeah.
Yeah, he's doing this one's coming out, and he's talking about doing a dumb idea engine swap. So he was asking for some different inputs on that one. But
He has an engine that I might want for a dumb engine swap, so I'm not gonna shit on him too much. He's a nice guy.
he's a great guy. We love Donnie.
He pretends to hate me on Twitter, but we're really like.
He pretends to hate Wawa, but we know he loves it.
Sheets is better.
No.
Oh, no. Oh, you did not just start that.
Somewhere deep in
no.
Gator country, a man is yelling at the stereo in his Suburban.
Oh, no.
I'm going to keep us moving here. Rocky Mountain Breakdown was this weekend in Colorado. First in points was the 1959 Premier Padmini, because it earned points for every picture of it being repaired in the rally, and that was a lot. Second was Team Shitsubishi and their impressive Prairie de Car themed Montero. Bonus team for the team costumes, which included their Bull Mastiff.
I saw that car on Instagram, and it looked dope. It was very cool.
Yeah,
They did a great job with that one.
Yeah,
They were in it to win it. It was
Uh-huh.
great.
Third was the Lemons Blockheads in one of their Tercel all-wheel drive wagons. Bonus points because on the way home they picked up another interior for one of their other Tercel all-wheel drive wagons. They've got the sickness, and the only cure is more Tercel all-wheel drive wagons.
That's a terrible sickness.
Hashtag long roof for life.
Yep.
I think that's great. The regional award of, quote, the name checks out. The team name was Fort Kickass. And they initially bought an International Scout airport truck, which means it was like those extra long ones. And when it wasn't ready, they bought a Mercedes 300 TD, which that when they couldn't get that out of Texas, they rented a Kia because nothing is close. I don't know why they're in a Kia. Then there was this Nissan pickup. Yeah. So they bought that on the day before the rally. They bought a Nissan pickup, and then after the rally, they donated the pickup to the Knights of Heroes, which is a local charity which empowers children who have lost a parent in service to our nation through an outdoor adventure program. So Fort Kickass is awesome. We love them, and they said, "quote The kids are going to paint it red, and it's going to be the campfire truck." That's awesome. Link to the camp is in our show notes in case you want to throw them a couple of shekels as a donation. Sorry, I'm supposed to keep reading. Organizer's choice went to Cool Cat and the Kitten of Wildcat Rescue and their Buick Wildcat. The husband and wife team got engaged on a Lemons rally, and we're celebrating their 1-year anniversary on this one.
I was at that Lemons rally. It was awesome. So I actually have a little story to tell about that Wildcat.
Oh, all right.
So it was the final night of the rally. This was the rally that I bought my MG Midget.
Monterey Car Week.
Monterey Car Week, yes. A couple years ago. I think it was 3 years ago now.
You had just bought the midget when you were on the show.
Yeah. So I went on that rally. I was with Rude the whole weekend in a Team Shrimp Mobile press car. It was a RAV4 hybrid. And the last night we had all been drinking in the parking lot of the hotel. And
because that's what you do on a rally, by the way.
Of course,
that's not like, well, we were the degenerates drinking in. No, that's where everybody was.
Yeah, that's what everybody does. We were
because once you get thrown out of the Applebee's, it's the only place to go.
That's right.
Until you go burn it down.
Burn down the apple.
That's right.
So we were all hanging out in the parking lot, and one of the husband and wife team, they called somebody in the parking lot and said, "Hey, we're broken down like 5 blocks away. Something's wrong. The car's not running great. I can't figure out what's going on." So all of us walk over there to try and help fix their car. And the car would start and it would run, but you couldn't shift it into drive. It would bog it down. And there was something wrong with the carburetor or something.
And this was the Buick Wildcat, or was it a different car?
Buick Wildcat. Say it was a 225 V8. And they were tinkering with it, and we were there for maybe an hour and a half trying to get this thing running right. And finally, it was after dark. There were some bums that were kind of encroaching on our area.
Been there.
And we were like, we got to get the hell out of here. Let's just get this thing running. And nobody else could figure it out, like how to get it to work. And I was like, well, it runs and it revs, but as soon as you shift it, that's when you hit the problem. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to neutral drop it.
Hell yeah.
Why not?
Right?
Yes.
And
do that.
So it was literally like there was 15 stoplights between me and the hotel. And so going up to every stoplight, I had to shift into neutral, post to a stop, and then just
had to.
Wow. And just
Boys, I hope somebody was sitting on their stoop watching this. They're just
Oh,
like,
I'm sure.
what is
like,
going
what is
on
going
here?
But everybody else was too afraid to do it, I guess. I was like, do you care if I blow up the transmission in this car? And they're like, we bought it for like $600, so no. You hate it. And
Yeah, we're already at the end.
Yeah.
It's not the first day of the rally. Do it.
And we made it to the hotel, and they fixed it and drove it home. So everything worked out. And I guess they still have the car. So
so they slammed it. It actually looks really cool.
Fabulous.
They kept the patina, slammed it, and but it's a rally. So they sent them on some really garbage roads. And you've done enough time in the country. You know, on some of those gravel roads, they grade them, they slice them so that you get traction.
I grew up on a gravel road.
So she's got a video of her on the gravel road doing the cam on the Instagram, and she's saying, you know, we were fine, and then the road turned on us, and it's the only photo and video of this whole rally where she's not smiling, and she's sitting there, and you can hear everything in this car rattling, all of it, everything in a '60s era GM is just.
I have
It's like paint shaker. Paint shaker.
I have a video of that from my road trip in the 912E in the middle of Colorado, because I was cutting
Yes, I
from
remember
one
that.
highway to another, and it went to dirt road. And that dirt road was the jankiest dirt road I've ever been on.
Yeah.
It actually had signs on either side that said "Do not go this route," and I was like, "Well, fuck
Oh,
it."
I gotta do that.
Yeah.
Gotta go down that road.
And it literally like shook the car apart. But yeah,
That's awesome.
I know that feeling.
So we should let's wrap up the report here. So finally, the random acts of stupidity, which is the big award of the Lemons Rally, went to Sordic, and they brought a Lincoln. They brought the same Lincoln that Connie approximately. It was a little different year, and they turned it into a pool, a hot tub, I guess. We thought this was going to be something like, tarps, or maybe it was going to be the trunk in the back. No,
It's the
the
whole car.
entire interior
Yeah.
was, I guess, fiberglass. I guess that's what they did, and it was blue, like blue fiberglass, and I have no idea how the pedals got through it without leaking right out. And man, it was a pool. It was a hot tub or whatever. Yeah, it only overheated like every single second of the rally. The water
Funny
got
they could
brown and
find some water.
sketchy. Every time they turned, some spilled out. So I don't know at what point does the equilibrium like are you waist deep and then it stops spilling? I don't know. Amazing. I have nothing to say, but hats off to you,
Yeah.
gentlemen,
That was well done.
in your Lincoln.
And their pruny hands now, they're just being able to respond. Good.
Oh
Good
my.
for them. Our earlier rant on actually no,
I'm sorry.
I'm jumping ahead. This is Mental's time. Here I am trying not to miss out.
But Jeff, do you have a bullhorn or something?
No, actually, I don't have my bullhorn with me.
All right, so I guess it's
trombone.
time for.
Should I yell just for
No,
him?
no, because Chrissy does a much better job. Chrissy,
Okay,
could you
Chrissy.
introduce the next section?
Listen up, feedback.
I'm searching for my bullhorn. I can't find it.
All right, so
I cleaned the
This
office.
this is actually it starts out as bad news, but it's good news. So Erling, who is our European fan club president, and he is a mass transportation expert from
Sweden.
Sweden. He dropped us a note to let us know how he was doing. He had actually been in the hospital fighting that bastard known as the Rona, rather. So he's been catching up on our shows, apparently on YouTube. He's been watching us on YouTube. And we are really, really happy that you're on the other side of this. Thanks for reaching out and talking to us. So we're glad you won the fight, and we're glad you don't live in a country with for-profit medicine, because then even after you got better, you're in debt for the rest of your life. So
Yeah,
that's
story
not
about that too.
which I just put a question in there about that. So we'll talk about that. So, but genuinely, we're glad you're better. I hope if you're the type that does this, I hope you're donating your plasma, because if you've got the antibodies, everybody wants your plasma. It's got a lot of value, and you can help get us past this situation. But most importantly is that you're doing well. So we appreciate you letting us know how everything's going. And God bless.
Glad to have you back.
Glad to have you back. We're going to try not to yell, because soon you'll be back in your earphones. And Jeff,
Wait. I want to yell. We're glad you're back, Early. There we go. Bradley, he writes us constantly and says, "Stop yelling in the microphone." So
because he's driving a bus and he's got his earphones.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
So our earlier rant about Citroens did start at what you're working on. Gentleman Dave was gonna finally fix my haunted trailer lights. Our most trailer lights are haunted, actually, unless they're brand new. And the case of the mysterious vanishing ground connection probably has something to do with the haunted trailer lights.
yeah. Yep.
So that
They're
he can go
usually
look at
connected there.
Right, and go look at it and pick up a motorcycle he 1,000% doesn't need. That sounds about right.
Everybody needs a motorcycle, and I have some experience rewiring trailer lights too. So.
Yeah. Once you get a janky enough trailer, you have to rewire the lights every time
Like
you
every
use the
time.
trailer if you want the lights to work.
So
Yeah.
many good weekends have started with, crap, I got to fix the lights on the trailer.
Yep.
There was a lot of great comments on this, by the way. I thought we saw pictures of jet skis, like some sort of 4-wheel drive Toyota Tercel. We saw Donnie's smoking car. Thanks everyone who replies to our "What You're Working On." I love these pictures. I do still have a question though. Why was Bruce like polishing his RV. Is there any reason?
He's that bored apparently.
Oh.
And trying to be out of the house.
Yeah, that might have been directed. Like, his lovely and patient bride may have said, "Go polish your RV," which may not have been what she meant, but what he took it as.
It is New York.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay.
The Instagram buddies, the Lemon Blockheads commented, thankfully nothing currently. We're trucking down through Colorado on the Lemons Rally. So we even got people checking in from the Lemons Rally. The car is really, really, really not liking the heat and the elevations. We've been having fuel issues all day, but it's definitely not getting us down. They're almost done. So they checked in almost near the end.
Yeah. Almost, I think they have like 70 horsepower. They drove that thing from Michigan to Colorado, all over Colorado and back, and picking up another one.
Terrible.
Yeah, at this point they have to own a double-digit percentage of the remaining Tercel all-wheel drive wagons.
Yeah,
in this country.
I must applaud their resilience.
That's a good word for it. That's a good word. Good
topic. Yeah,
yes, resilience.
Yeah,
when I grew up in
it's like I want to drive a Toyota, but I don't want to drive one of the good ones. Like if you were into Camrys, like 89 Camrys, you could find 1,000 of them on every Craigslist in the country.
None of them good though.
They're all good. No, they all
They're
run.
all bad.
But they all run.
Yeah.
Right? You
Fair.
know?
Yeah. It's like
What is good to you? How do you define good?
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah. It's like a Camry is like the Japanese equivalent of anything with a GM 3800. Like it'll run forever.
Sure, yes.
It'll run forever, but you're not gonna like it when it does.
How do you say "jug a Lambo" in Japanese?
I'm not sure.
Avalon.
Is that it? Is that how it works? Anyway, all right, let's move on. We're talking Racer Road Reaction. Lemons started season 3 of their I Suck at Racing League with a 3-fer at Road Atlanta. First was a sprint with 87 NASCARs, TDI Jettas, and MX-5s, and Slostuses and Old Miatas. Next was a Freedom Race with Legacy NASCAR Silverado trucks, Street Stock Camaros, and Legends. And the icing on the lemony dessert was the Gladiator race of Pro 2 trucks, street stacks with damage turned off. Join the crew every Sunday night. If you're lucky, we'll be commentating. Yes,
and if you're not lucky, sorry.
Yeah.
We'll be commentating.
And just today, they have now fully published their entire season 3 schedule. So head over to I Suck at Racing and check that out. So they're going to be doing, quasi-serious races every other Sunday. And then in between those Sundays is the silly hats, no wheels, no pedal races, which I always find.
I watched the first one. It was absolutely phenomenal. Like everything about that is so fun.
It started off a little shaky. So if you've only seen the very first one, you should check them out again because it's really gone a Lemons direction like you wouldn't believe. Like the level of jokes in the car liveries have gotten so deep.
All right.
They're like jokes on top of jokes on top of jokes that are somewhat related to jokes that were said after the other jokes.
And the controls now too are step up.
Oh
yeah. The amount of engineering that Lemons people put into not winning is
yes.
It blows my mind.
Yeah, really smart people that are bored and have nothing to do. And my favorite is still the French horn guy at Le Mans on the Mouche Long Straight and how he didn't pass out. And Chrissy, you had something.
Oh, I was also going to say that the production value while on the spot is great. Bearded Sim Racer does such a fantastic job. He will zoom in on cars. They're moving. It doesn't matter. We said, zoom back. Let's see what happens. He does it on the spot. He is great at what he does, and it really makes for a great experience. It's not just like watching cars go around. It really does make it so that there's a conversation going, and it's a lot more than racing. I think it's just feels kind of like a show.
Yeah.
I like it.
And despite the fact that we're the ones commentating on a lot of this,
that's the thing.
It actually goes well. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you should email Rude, Brad, and get in on that. You can comment on the races because you need something else to do, right?
Yeah, as though I don't have enough time much already. But,
He'll be better than Judge Phil.
Here, honestly,
Fortunately, he doesn't listen to the show.
Yeah. Was anyone at our own race league last night?
I was not. I was busy.
None
I
of
had
us were at our
None
own
of us
race
were here.
league.
I know, and I was sitting in the vet's parking lot because thinking this was just going to be a quick trip.
Oh, that's a
I'm like,
shame.
he's like, well, we're thinking about doing the 87s at Watkins Glen. I'm like, that's awesome. Let's do it. Can I please have my GT3 Mercedes? And Dave's like, yeah, sure, no problem. And then
And then you didn't show up.
well, I missed both of them, but I hope it went well.
Looking at the Slack from last night, there's definitely Hamza put googly eyes on his Oculus, like giant
That's
ones.
good to
So
know.
that's always good.
like the whole size of him. Yes.
Apparently, Tom Lamino is upset that there wasn't as much, that the surprise butt section isn't the same. So I think that's about how it went last night. I think they were doing Watkins Glen in 87s, but like the old style. Glen,
No boot. Yeah.
No chicane. Like a man, you know?
all throttle, so you can light the Marlboro while you're still scooting down there and have a chance to grab it before you got a downshift.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
goodness.
They seem to have a lot of fun, and it's a shame we couldn't be there. I would rather have been doing that than standing a console.
Yes,
Hey,
and,
you
so
know who
all
wasn't?
join us.
You know who also wasn't on the iRacing that night? Chrissy's mom.
Nope. True.
No.
She does not go iRacing. Hi, Chrissy's mom.
Hi.
You still
Chrissy's
listen? Chrissy's sister, Chrissy's brother-in-law, all of them.
Yeah, some of them listen.
Hi, all of your relatives, because
Usually
my
when they're-
relatives don't listen.
Usually when they're driving to the shore or somewhere like that.
Yes, but you should join us for our E1R race nights. We still do them every Monday night. We've got one at 9 Eastern and another one at 10 Eastern. They show up about 5 minutes after the hour. The password, get a hold of us on any of our social media. It's our favorite braking product, if you haven't figured this out already.
It's 4 digits, letters, two letters, 2 digits.
Richard Petty. Did all you need to know.
Bubba Wallace.
So are we ready to get to the main topic? I feel like the whole topic has been main anyway. So
There's a topic.
there's a topic. The topic is you.
Kinda.
Are you glad? Are you excited? As if we haven't been waiting to talk to you this entire time. Bradley Brownell is here. We're very excited. We already mentioned his resume. We already talked. I didn't realize you were an OG member of the GRM Racing Board.
BDS days.
I was like the number 4 top poster on that forum for years.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys were on it, but Maroon 92 was my.
Yeah, I've been on there since like 2002. I've been a frequent.
I was like,
peruser.
I guess you're more OG than I was, because I was like 04 through 12.
I creeped there for a while, but I haven't been able to be part of the community for a while.
It's been a while. Yeah, it's been a while. I was still doing it when I was at Stoddard, and then Per Schroeder got hired by the company that I was at, and it felt weird to be on the forum while he was in the building.
To be not working. Yeah, I understand.
I still have my admin privileges, because back when they were trying to hunt all the canoe salespeople, and they just haven't taken them away from me, because of course, it's not like they listen. So I still do go back there. I was a top 10 poster for a number of years, but you and I talked about that when we finally met in Atlanta after both of us kind of living in the
trombone
same
fell over. Sorry, everybody.
Hey, I used to play the trombone.
Oh, I don't play it at all. Oh, it's locked. Hold on a minute.
We got that trombone. Mental found it in New Orleans merely so that we could go behind people that are broken at Lemons races and play sad trombone.
And it somehow ended in Jeff's trailer, and then Jeff tries to do it and can't.
But one of our teammates, he actually is a multi-talented musician, and so at NJMP last year, he had a song for everyone. He sat up on the stage as everyone was getting their trophies and was playing some sort of trombone thing going on. But you and I met in Meat Space finally in Atlanta before Grid Life, it was when you were taking the longest road trip ever accomplished by a 912.
Yeah, I went across the country in my 912E back in 2017.
And you and I had been friends for probably we figured out like 14, 15 years at that point. And then that was kind of my
quote big break in the auto industry because I got to be on the cover of a magazine, and then that was like I got home and like 2 weeks later was the first Radwood. So I kind of became someone, I guess, at that point. So before that I was just some jerk.
Well, we're glad that we could get like someone who's like someone on our podcast because we usually have no ones.
Quote unquote famous.
Well, I know we figured you were going to be too highbrow. You're like, oh, E1R, those losers.
What? How many listeners?
Beyond that now.
Exactly.
We're up from 5s to 10s now. So
we didn't we didn't give your entire history because you were a podcaster for hundreds and hundreds of episodes.
Yes.
Even longer than we were.
You've done 3-4 different podcasts.
Well, yeah. There was a time when I was doing like 4 a week. And I literally don't have time to do it.
You were hosting for a week. You weren't just like in them. So
I was on a podcast last night, somebody else's. So
anyway. Traitor.
What?
I know. It's a new one that isn't out yet, so you can see that on my social media.
Oh, okay,
that's fine.
Cool.
That's fine.
Well, send us a link. Send us a link. We'll pimp it.
Don't worry.
We're international now. I don't know if you heard. We've got a buddy, and
we've got one in Sweden.
You have a European listener.
Well, we might have more. We just don't know who they are.
If you're from another country and you're listening, please.
We just know that we have one.
We're on YouTube now.
Yeah, I used to be the voice of Tub on the Camden Tubbs podcast.
That's where I learned who you were.
And then I did a racing show, which I desperately miss, with Eric Rude and Steph Schrader and Pat, and we had an Australian
DFL. We love DFL.
DFL was great.
We have Eric on all the time.
So much fun. Like, I wish that we would just have kept it up and just not recorded. Just called each other to talk about racing because I love those people so much.
Yes, Eric is. We call him host number 5 now, and
okay.
In fact, he's the one that got us into the commentating and the iRacing, and I am.
Eric is literally one of my favorite people.
He's
I
awesome.
Adore that guy. He's such a dork, in the best way possible.
Unapologetically, just barrel-chested. Yeah, I'm a geek. What up?
Yeah.
Great guy.
So anyway, grew up in Michigan. I was a car guy when I was young because my dad was a Mustang guy. So I kind of learned about cars that way, I guess. I really got into cars when I did a foreign exchange program in Spain.
I was about to say, then how did you get into Porsches if your dad was a Mustang guy?
That's we'll get there.
Everyone comes to Porsche. Just
get there.
Accept it, Jeff.
So, I was in Spain, and my stepdad's father sent me a care package every month that had his old car magazine. So he would get Hot Rod, collector car magazines, Mopar, Muscle, like that kind of stuff. And he also got like Motor Trend and Carcraft, and he would mail those to me in Spain every month. And it was the only thing I had in English to read. So I would devour them cover to cover. And that was really where I learned about like how cars work just by reading as much as I could about them. And then I graduated from college in 2009, which is the worst time to graduate. If you're looking for a time to graduate from college, don't do it in 2009.
Like 2020.
Yeah, 2020 is pretty close to that.
Yeah, fair. But in Michigan in 2009 particularly, everything was
not great.
Screwed.
Yeah, not great.
So
we're not taking away from you.
Yeah.
Especially if you're trying to get into anything that has anything to do with the automotive industry.
Exactly. Yeah. So I was looking to do advertising, and what's the first thing that companies cut when there's trouble is
advertising.
Ad budget. Yeah. So my dad was living in Atlanta at the time, and I asked if I could move into his basement because I couldn't afford rent anymore. And he said, sure. I saw an ad on Craigslist for a Porsche parts salesman position. And I was like, it's Porsche parts.
Oh, it's carts.
How bad could it be? So I totally BS'd my way into that position. I knew literally not word one about Porsches. I just said that, oh yeah, of course. I helped a friend restore a 914, and they were like, oh, you're hired.
That's impressive.
You
Yeah.
knew what a 914 was, so I guess
Well,
that's-
yeah.
You're like, he
sure,
must know.
Yeah.
So 2 years of that soul-sucking job, and I was hooked. And I got hired by a couple of different companies to start their Porsche division in Ohio. So I moved to Ohio, and then I got hired away from them by Stoddard, and I worked for Stoddard for 6 years selling 356 and 911 restoration parts. And kind of on the side, I started writing about cars because I was doing kind of PR for the Porsche parts company. So I started writing for this Porsche magazine because I wrote a PR piece, and the guy was like, oh, hey, I really like your writing. Do you want to write for us? And I was like, sure. So I did that nights and weekends for like a decade. One of my coworkers was friends with Camille Kaluski, and
Great
he
guy.
got me started at his site called Car Guy Dad at the time, which no longer exists. It was folded into Hooniverse, and then I wrote for Hooniverse for like 6 years for free. And
that's not exploitive. Jeff, it's not like Jeff is
No,
living high
yeah.
on the hog.
There
You know,
was-
Jeff
they
is
weren't making
completely honest.
money.
Yeah.
Yeah, they weren't making money. It was just like a fun thing to do. And
Mhm.
I don't, trust me,
Yeah.
I don't feel like I was exploited or anything. I just,
And I've done some writing for Hooniverse, and I still like. We had Jeff Glucker on the show. We really enjoy.
Yeah,
Jeff's a good
love
dude.
Clucker.
He's gotten me jobs since then. I was literally working with him at Kelly Blue Book like 3 months ago.
Nice.
So, yeah, he's a great dude, and I really love his show. So if you're into anything car related, go watch Shift Talkers.
Okay, I was gonna say because there's the breakdown and then Shift Talkers. Yes, the
Yeah.
Shift Talkers is the new one.
Shift Talkers on the Motor Trend app.
Yeah.
It's actually pretty fun. I enjoy watching it. But
Nice.
anyway, so I wrote about cars nights and weekends for like 10 years. And then I finally got a break writing for The Drive in 2016. And so I quit my desk job at the Porsche parts place, and I've been doing it ever since. So that's kind of my story.
There's nothing better than like living your life writing,
Yeah.
unless you like steady work.
Yeah, exactly.
Yay.
Good pay, reliable.
Having
Benefits.
food. It's just
I'm very blessed. Like I've gotten to a point where I have steady, reliable work. That could change at any moment, I guess. So I don't know how reliable it is, but like I get the same amount of money every week, and I do the same amount of work every week. So I feel like I'm doing okay.
but it could all come crashing down like immediately. That's
exactly.
the life of a journalist, basically.
Like on the whim of anyone at the top, they could just go, this site doesn't exist anymore, and I'd be like, okay.
And who knows, that could be like Hulk Hogan again. You know what I mean? Like it's like,
Well,
what? I don't even work for that dude. How did he
Not
crash
just-
my website?
Not just that, Eric Rude had done this. I think you and Eric went pro,
Yeah,
about
the same time.
and
Yep.
Eric was doing fantastic work for a very successful magazine that was bought by a competitor, and they said, "Oh, this is way too successful. We're going to need to go ahead and just shut this." And they were shut down not because they weren't making money, but because they were too good at their job.
Yeah. I mean, it's a bummer to live in reality and everything sucks. So anyway, let's move on.
Point being, you've been around the block a few times.
Yeah. I've done a lot of things. I've worked really hard to get where I am, and I'm proud of what I've done, but I couldn't have done it without some support from my wife, especially. If she hadn't had a steady job when I quit my job, then things would have been really screwed.
Yeah, well, we're going to get there in a second, because I think the last time we talked to you, you were really you're just trying as hard as you can to work yourself into a heart attack, I believe. You had like 27 different jobs. None of them paid you a penny. You're traveling all around the world doing Radwood.
Yep.
And then you like nearly died or something. I'm not sure. I'm not going to go into there. You can talk about whatever you want to.
And that's my follow-on question is that too. So we want you to stay in your comfort zone.
Yeah, but now
Well,
you're like back.
I've
You're
already
living.
told the story. I'll tell the whole story.
Yeah, but well, we don't care.
hear it.
I think everybody knows that story. But you kicked it all. You're living a smaller life in your little tiny
Yes.
mobile home. Now you're like a real house, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. So
There's no question here. Just tell me, like, what's your path to enlightenment? What have you discovered? How do I convince my wife that I'm allowed to live in a little shoebox and not work anymore? That's what
I haven't yet made that happen, so I don't know the answer to that. But yeah, so I almost died in the UK, a little over.
It was like on the
About a
plane,
year ago.
right?
What's that?
It was on the plane, right? Didn't you have?
Yeah, so I passed out on the plane. I woke up in a basically pile of vomit, and I had some people said I had a seizure, but I don't know that that's true.
Because every time I pass out on a plane and wake up in a puddle of vomit, I wake up in handcuffs. I don't know.
But yeah, so it turns out I was flying to the UK. I got all the way to the UK, and they took me to the hospital for checkups, and then I started vomiting blood, and they're like, something might be wrong with you.
Yeah. Except in a classy way. Perhaps maybe.
Hello.
Perhaps
unless they were cockneys, in which your soccer hooligan.
Oi!
Oi, mate.
Oh, you're fucked up.
You're supposed to be doing that.
Yeah, and then they said shit that was like supposed to rhyme with shit you didn't understand before.
Yes,
like, dude, you're donkeys. You're like uncle something. And you're like, I don't know what this dude is talking about.
Oh, you're all cooked, isn't it? So anyway, they took me into surgery, and they put a scope down my throat, and they found out that I had 4 massive ulcers, and I was basically just digesting my own blood, which is totally cool.
It's very metal. It's like
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, they took me to,
Ian Medford put on his English driving cap and went, yeah.
They took me to the ICU, and they put me on a blood drip, and I ended up needing like 6 quarts of blood. I guess liters, same shit.
whatever.
Freaking lot.
Yeah.
Boku lot.
Yeah, it was
Like
like
a gallon
half.
and a half. Right?
Yeah, I had run my engine half out of oil, and it didn't like it. So yeah, they packed me with a bunch of blood, and I was passing out all the time, and I was in and out of conscious for like 6 hours. And so yeah, I was there, and I was like, maybe I need to chill out a little bit. So I had I think at the max I had like 12 cars, and none of them ran great, and it was all just kind of adding up to stress. And like, we had a house out in the suburbs with a bunch of space, and things weren't really going wrong with it, but it was kind of shittily built. And I just was like, we need to simplify. Like, this isn't a
You were
life
also
I can live.
you were also traveling a ton, right?
I was traveling a ton. Yeah, I was traveling a ton. So we kind of decided we were going to simplify our life. We decided to sell the house. And of course, we finally got the house to a point where we could sell it in March of 2020.
It's a bad time to sell.
It's a bad time to
things.
sell, yeah.
It ended up being okay. Like, the
Oh,
Reno
good.
market, the Reno market hasn't really died off yet. But yeah, it was pretty bad. But yeah, so we looked at the house that we're in now in March, and we didn't move in until June because things were just like taking so long with all the shutdowns and whatnot. And so we're finally here, and we downsized from 1,400 square feet to 700 square feet. And it's
But that's giant compared to that little RV you lived,
Yes,
that little trailer you
so-
lived in for like
All
a minute, right?
relative. It's all
Yeah.
relative.
So we bought a Scamp trailer, which is a 13-foot trailer.
Egg. It's an egg.
Actually, do you know, interesting story, not that it matters, but Do you know where the Scamp trailer, the fiberglass style trailer that's shaped like that? Do you know why they're shaped like that?
Mork from Ork.
I say it was a boat builder, and that's all they knew how to do.
It was not. It was a septic tank builder.
Nice.
And literally, they took the septic
I
tank.
like this.
They turned it
and
sideways.
They flipped it upside down and put wheels on it.
Heck
And they were
yeah.
like, "Here's a trailer. We're gonna build these now." So
Okay.
those little fiberglass egg trailers have been around since the '60s. Ours is a '75 or '76, something like that. We bought it for probably too much money. There was too much wrong with it, and I've been working on it ever since. I got the exterior done, and I'm not going to talk shit about her, but my wife basically, when we bought it, I said, this isn't going to be a me project, this is going to be an us project.
Oh, that's crap.
That's all worlds, but that's okay. That's okay.
We're all married, so that's really a talking shit on you, because you should have known how that was going to play.
And I said, I'm going to do the exterior, and I will rewire the whole trailer. You do the interior. That's your job. So the exterior and the wiring is done, but the interior is still empty. So
And do you think that was on purpose, or do you
That
think
seems
she
like
had,
the funner part. I think
she
this
had like
is
she had bigger plans of, sure, honey.
Yeah, like staying employed and putting
I
food
mean-
on the table because
I
he's
mean,
a journalist.
it was her idea to get the
Oh,
trailer.
okay.
So, anyway, we bought the trailer actually, like, we picked it up like a week before I flew to the UK. So
Oh, that's funny.
One
I
more
thought it was a
project, yeah.
reaction.
no,
I thought you came
No.
home and was like, I'm done with this crappy house. I'm going to live in an egg in the desert and we're going to
I
like
still wanna do
commune
that.
with the wolves. And
I still want to do that. We actually have plans to buy some land in like Idaho or Southern California or something like that, and just plop it on some land and dig a well and just have like a spot to go to get the fuck out of
Which you
humanity
Sounds
can
good.
buy plots of desert like
for
acreage
nothing.
for
Very
for
cheap.
par payment. It's on.
Yeah.
They show on Craigslist all the
Yeah, yeah.
time for
Yeah.
like less than we've all paid for hoopties. You can buy
Yeah.
4 acres in the desert in Nevada.
Yeah, she sent me a link yesterday to 135 acres in Idaho for like 20 grand. So
Yep.
isn't that why the Rajneesh, the Bhagwan, isn't that why he bought all that land in Oregon, right? It was like no money.
it was cheap.
Yeah.
So anyway, the trailer's not done. We used it a couple of times before we started the renovation. It does still work. Like, I've got it sitting in the side lot here with the solar power and everything. So it's all charged up. It's all ready to go. It just needs a bed and a sink and
I
so-
didn't
Only
really
the-
need those
What else is
things.
in a 13-foot scamp aside from a bed and a sink?
that's pretty much it.
Okay, good. Yeah. Okay.
So it doesn't need a lot. Honestly, if we did like 3 hard weekends of work, we'd probably have it done. But a million other things have come up in the time since then, and anyway.
And they're always
They
gonna.
always.
They're
Yeah.
always gonna.
Yeah.
All right. And I'll jump in this one. So, as we talked about, within your comfort zone, you had that scare, and so you had
Yes.
that life-changing moment. Now, I asked this question because I remember when I was still living in Georgia, listening to an episode of Camden Tub where
Okay.
your buddy Cameron, and if I'm not mistaken, and I'm not trying to dig salt into a wound or anything, as I'm not mistaken, you guys both came to the agreement that either you could keep doing the podcast or you could stay friends, and you decided to stay friends.
Yeah, I mean, we don't talk that much anymore. But
But that now, and coming from my background, I don't measure my friendships about how often I talk to them. I measure my
Sure.
friendships about if I'm broken down, could I call this person and would they come?
absolutely, sure.
And
Yes.
and I know he's still doing
it's
some.
kind of it is kind of a weird thing, because we went from talking to each other literally for 3 hours a week to hardly talking to each other at all. But I think we both mentally needed that to just decompress and
Sure.
get away from the the time suck that it had become. And it sucks because I know we had a lot of fans, and I know that we had, a good time doing it sometimes.
Right.
But after 5 years or whatever it was that we did the show, it just ended up being like an old married couple. We had hit our 5-year itch, and we were like, I think I'm done.
So this whole nonsense all started as an excuse because my work, I couldn't get away as much, so I didn't get to see these guys very often. So we got drunk. We're like, we should do a podcast. But I ask you all that because there was one episode where, and he was just good-naturedly giving you a hard time about all of your broken stuff, and you could hear the stress in your voice, and you could and he even begins to apologize. So you're not quite Longbeard living on top of a mountain, subsisting on a leaf a day level of wisdom, but you like you talked about, you had all these cars that didn't run and a house that was bothering you, and you made spiritual changes. So how are you doing spiritually? Not stuff wise.
Honestly, I feel a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
I still need to get rid of some more stuff. I still have 2 cars that I'm trying to offload. So if anybody wants a lifted 95 Audi S6 that runs great, honestly.
And there's a very active gambler.
Wait, what's the other one? Before I say yes.
Hold on.
84 Euro 944.
Oh, no. Yes.
Oh no!
Yes, I'll take that one.
I mean, they're not free, but
I'll take it. I'll take both.
I was hoping you were going to say 50% share of a 944 turbo, but I guess that's not
I'm going to pimp the Rowdy Audi.
We'll get to that
because out here in Nevada, there is actually, it's in northern Nevada, so it's a little bit closer to where Brad lives than where I am. There is a very active Gambler 500 organization out here, and they bring tons of trash, which the Gambler 500 has become this environmental event. And so it would be perfect. You could fly into Reno, pick up this Audi, do a Gambler 500, and then go home knowing that you've made the earth a better place. And the Rowdy Audi would be perfect for that.
Honestly, it's a great car. I've had it for 70,000 miles. It cosmetically isn't perfect, and like the wheels still rub in the wheel wells and stuff like that, but it runs great.
Sounds like a gambler car to me. Yeah. Right.
Exactly. And it's probably not worth much. $3-4 grand, something like that.
Celebrity owned. Would you be
right. Yeah.
Autographed?
Depending on your definition of owned and celebrity, but I don't know. That's awesome. I was gonna wait until later to say this, but I'm a huge Ethan Tufts fan. I love
Ethan is one, like, it's Eric Rude, Ethan Tufts.
Yeah, like Hello Road is like great to me, but you're gonna have to become a little clean here. You've been very honest so far.
I will be honest.
Totally admit that you broke that shit and you ditched it on him, right?
I absolutely did not. I mean,
broke what shit?
Okay, so go ahead. Can I explain what I think happened?
Yes, go for it.
Somehow you have a 50% ownership of a cocaine white. What year is it?
It is a 1986
944 turbo, which makes my heart go flutter, flutter.
With 500,000 miles.
Nice. Whoa. But it looks great.
It does look great.
It looks great.
In very, very good shape.
Yeah.
It was owned by a guy in the Bay Area of California for the entire life of the car, and he drove it as like a traveling salesman, like 190 miles a day, and it just racked up miles and miles and miles and miles. And I think the odometer quit at like 375, and he kept driving it for 10 more years.
I'm just thinking
it's got at least 500,000 miles on it.
I was thinking about how many timing belts that thing's been through at this point.
Probably a lot. Yeah, I mean, you need to change them every 60,000. So yeah, probably quite a few.
Yeah,
but I imagine obviously he kept up on the maintenance.
Yes, allegedly, I don't know this for a fact, but allegedly the head's never been off, and the turbo is original.
Wow.
at
German
$500,000.
engineering. As long as you keep moving
Right?
it, it's going to work, right?
If you take care of it and you drive it, it'll work
Exactly.
forever.
Everything's going to be fine until Bradley owns it and is
Right.
delivering it to the other owner. So
Right.
you sheared the
How many cars a
rear
year
brake drum?
run, Jeff?
Shut up. We're talking about our guest today. So I'm watching Ethan Tuff's Hello Road podcast
Yes.
YouTube
Yes.
channel. Love his stuff. Love the Liam Neeson. Actually, I love the beautiful YouTube channel that he makes. His
Yes.
videography is
Great.
excellent. Yeah.
That's one of the things that like I originally heard about him because he went to a Radwood show and did a video about it. And I was like, oh my God, this guy shot the best YouTube video of
Yeah,
going
it was
to a
like,
Radwood.
and then you
Amazing.
made him like the official videographer of Radwood, which
Yes.
probably you just said, dude, you're better than me. You're doing it
Yeah.
now.
Do you want to do this? And he's like, yeah.
He's
And
also
then-
a little less busy than you are at Radwood because
Yeah.
you're busy.
Yeah.
I think I heard about Radwood on Cam and Tubbed and then saw
Probably.
his videos and then realized, oh, this is real. Somebody else is listening to this podcast. And just absolutely fell in love with Ethan and his YouTube channel. But anyway,
Yeah.
so you half owned a 944 with him.
Yes. Yep.
Let's talk
So,
about that.
A friend of mine had this car. I wrote a piece about it for Excellence magazine, the Porsche magazine. And I fell in love with the car. And there was a rally coming up, and I was like, hey, can I borrow the car for the rally? And if I fall in love with it, I'll buy it from you.
This is not a junk car rally. This is like a legit rally, right?
This is legit. Like, not like a rally, but like a enthusiast rally. Like we're a bunch of guys going off to drive in the countryside together.
Eat shrimp, stay at expensive hotels. We understand.
Yeah. You know what I do. I am a millionaire, So. No, it's called the Driving While Awesome Coastal Range Rally. So like the hotels are
DWA. Yeah. Another good podcast.
yeah. The hotels are usually like $100 to $150 a night. So it's not like we're staying at the Ritz or anything.
Yeah.
But
2 weekends from now, I'm going to be sleeping in my trailer at a track day. So
there you go.
it's slightly better.
So anyway, he for some reason agreed to this to let me borrow his car for a weekend. And he said, if you break it, you got to buy it anyway. And I was like, yeah, all right, I guess that's true. And then so I asked Ethan if he wanted to come with me on this rally because he had been wanting to go on rallies. And he said yes. So I met him at the airport. We went for a good drive. He had a good time. And while we were on the rally, he was like, I think I kind of want to buy this car. And I was like, I'll split it with you. He goes, that's an even better idea. So, so we ended up buying it together. And
I feel like you need like a divorce attorney to like write up the paperwork at the beginning. Like you'll get the car Monday through Friday. And then
he's in LA and I'm in Reno. So we're 700 miles apart. And somehow he agreed to this.
I have racing buddies, and they did the exact same thing. And the reason is so when their spouses show up at the shop and go, "Whose is that?" They can say, "Oh, yeah, it's his." It's his. And the deal is they can never have their spouses at the shop at the same time.
Mm.
And what's even worse, it was E30 M3s.
Oh,
and then
geez.
they bought another one that looks just like it, and they can't have those parked in the same. So they both have them, but they're both blaming them on the other guy. So the two E30 M3s can't be in the same spot, and the spouses can't be in the same shop.
I think honesty is probably a good thing for a marriage. So I'm
That's too much work right there.
But anyway,
Too much work.
It is.
So my wife knew about it, and I texted her about the plan, and I actually was looking through our text the other day, and I remember her reaction being like, "Ugh, I'm not going to tell you can't do it, but why?" And
when you can hear
What was
that
your
tone,
answer?
when you can hear that tone in a text,
what was her?
My answer is always we'll be able to sell it for more money.
Always the answer.
That is the lie that never stops lying.
Yes.
What was it about the purchase that she most was offended by? Because your life is littered with like weird Porsches.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
that was why. It was because she's like, well, do you really need another car? And the answer obviously was no.
Yeah. Nobody needs.
So I got the car to my house. I didn't drive it for like 4 months. It sat in the back. I never registered it in Nevada. And eventually I was like, Ethan, it's yours. I need to bring it to you. Like, you'll actually do something with it. You'll be able to make content out of it. Like, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not driving. I'm not doing anything. You need to take this off my hands for a while. And so do you want to raise the point of when it exploded? Or
it exploded like while you were driving it to his house, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
the rear brake disc drum setup.
The parking brake is a drum inside the rear rotor.
Yeah. We all know how that works.
Yeah. And not every car is the same. Anyway, my wife and I were taking a vacation to Palm Springs for Thanksgiving. We were there for a week. I was like, I'll drive the car down to Palm Springs, and then after Palm Springs, we'll go to Radwood, and I'll drop the car off to Ethan in LA, because Radwood, LA was in December. So on my way down, it started snowing in Tonopah, and I'm on
That's a second Tonopah reference in this podcast, right?
That's right. Everyone take a drink. It started snowing in Tonopah, and I was on like our compound tires, so I was a little sketched out.
And most of that is 2-lane road, like
2-lane, and we didn't take that road all the way because going to Palm Springs you have to cut back to the west, so we had to cut through Death Valley to get there, which of course is empty and there's no cell reception and everything, you break down, you're screwed. Luckily it was cold, not 700 degrees. But I was leaving Tonopah and I heard a chunk, like I thought I hit like a wheel chock from a semi that had put his
we're talking about a big hit, a big thud.
Big hit, like a big hit. And I pulled over and looked and didn't find anything, and I kept driving and everything seemed okay. And then the hit would come back like every 50 miles or so. I would just be driving and it would just go, gah.
Just long enough where you think it's gone. And
yeah.
Like, okay. I haven't heard it in a while.
Everything seems to be going fine. We're good. It's great. And then it would just, and it felt like it was something in the rear transaxle or the rear wheel or something. And I pulled over and looked like 5 times.
Look how beautiful it is.
Couldn't ever
figure
it out.
All right, so I've got to ask you this question.
Yeah.
All right, see, and Chris and Chrissy have talked about this because in their house, there's no safety valve. Hey, honey, you want to drive down to Florida and buy a mid-engine supercar? That's a great idea. Hey, honey, do you want to ship a high-end Mercedes wagon across the country? I like how you think. But for Jeff
come on. The stories do not go that way. There's more discussion than that, but that is the end result. Yes. Okay, fine.
So Jeff and I, when stuff like that, like when something's going wrong.
We have no ability. Like
when something goes wrong with a car that we shouldn't have bought in the first place, and we've talked our spouses into it. So while we're trying to diagnose it, we're also having to come up with a good lie. Oh, it's totally fine. No, it's the handbrake brake pads settling into the interior rotor. So
luckily,
what were you telling her when this happened every 50 miles?
She was driving the van.
Oh, she wasn't even in the car.
So she wasn't in the car. Okay. If she was in the car with me, I'd probably be dead. But
at least it wasn't jumping like a car in iRacing that lost its internet connection.
But she was in the van. She had all of the Radwood stuff, driving a van in this sketchy weather, so she had her own worries to concern herself with, and so I'm driving through Death Valley, and it's getting louder and more violent. And eventually I start hearing like chunks of metal, like
Oh.
and yeah, it's not a great sound. We get to the place where we're going to stop for fuel to make our last run into Palm Springs, and we're both stopped at the gas station, and she's mad at me because I'm driving too fast in bad weather. And
You're like, you
I'm
have no idea. You have no idea.
I'm like, I'm not
If
sure
I-
I would have made it.
If I
was
hurry up
driving.
and get there,
Yeah.
it's before it breaks.
Yeah,
This
yeah,
makes total sense.
So I was like, whatever, just go on ahead and don't worry about how fast I'm driving. I'll meet you there. So we're kind of like button heads at that point. It's just like,
So your ego is, I'm going to send my lifeline ahead.
yes.
Well, I know that my car is going to break just so I don't have to answer to this.
Yes. So I go into the gas station, I get some food, I come back, and it won't pull away from the stop, from the pump. I'm like, oh God, what's wrong now? So I walk around the car. I still don't see anything wrong because it's inside the rotor, obviously. And I'm like, oh, okay. I start it back up. And of course the belt's squealing like crazy because it's cold and it doesn't really like it. So everybody's looking at me, and I
How's your Porsche there, guy? Yeah.
You're like, hey, you like how this sounds? Yes, you
Right.
do.
this could be it.
Yeah.
I'll sell it to you right now.
Gotta go, run!
So I was like, well, it won't go forward. What if I go in reverse? And I reversed, and it lost the chunk. So then I was able to go into first and take off. And I made it to
I
Palm
mean,
Springs.
you
Fixed
knew
it.
that something's going really poorly here,
So-
right?
Yeah.
You're really
So still, it's better if you can make it to where you're going.
fixed itself.
So Brett, just so I can, just so you're aware and you can get to it, I have the picture of the brick disc ready
Yes.
to share on the screen to everybody.
Hold on, we're almost there.
Go ahead.
So, so I get off the highway in Palm Springs, and I'm hearing just metal clatter, grinding, just screeching, and I'm like, I've got to make it to the hotel. I'm only 3 miles away, and it's just ting 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 ting. And I finally pull into the parking space, and I'm like, I'm on vacation. I have a week. I have a
oh my
week.
gosh.
I'm not looking at it. I'm not touching it. I'm not doing anything. We're just going to let it
Wow.
sit there. And it's going to fix itself.
I do not. As much as you can pray, that is not gonna fix
I
it.
admire your optimism. That's
I
good.
spent a
Cars
week.
fix themselves all the time.
Yeah. I spent a week drinking by the pool, enjoying life. And then I was like, all right, it's time to go to Radwood. Let's get in the car and drive away. And I'm driving through Palm Springs, and it's getting louder and more obnoxious.
I've driven through Palm Springs, which is lovely, and
And then I hear
that's
this-
not a place to drive through with a loud car.
And then I hear this bang. And I'm like, oh, it's fixed. It's great. Everything's good again. So I don't know if you know the geography there, but there's the Cabazon dinosaurs.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
pretty famous.
I'm aware of them. I don't know where they are, but
Okay, they're right outside of Palm Springs, like maybe 30 miles or something like that. And I was like, hey, let's stop there for lunch because there's a Burger King and nothing else. And so we stopped at
Wind
the
farms? Are
dinosaurs.
there a lot of wind farms there?
Yeah.
Can you go through a
Yep. Yep.
crap ton of wind farms? I know
A
exactly. what you're
bunch of
talking
wind farms, yeah. So we pull over the dinosaurs, we're taking photos and stuff, and I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool, let's go have some food. And then we come back, and I'm kind of like positioning the car to get some shots with the dinosaurs behind it. And I look at the rotor that had been making the noise, and what do I see? Go ahead and put the photo up there.
about. Wow.
Yeah,
That's impressive.
I know.
Oh wait, we're on a
Hasn't
podcast.
even-
We're on a
we're on a
podcast.
podcast, so we should describe it. If you want to go to Ethan Tuff's, Mr. Ethan Tuff's Instagram and go back a little bit, you can see it. There's a hole in the disc
hat.
brake hat
Yes.
that is.
You can stick
I
your
would say-
finger in it.
Oh,
Easily.
more than your
Oh,
finger.
bigger than
You
that.
can-
Stick 3 fingers in that.
yeah, it's big. It probably wouldn't take like a tennis ball, but I think if you shoved a tennis ball, it would stick in.
It'd take a golf ball.
Yeah, oh yeah, a golf ball,
It'd
absolutely.
for sure take a golf
Yeah,
ball.
golf ball.
Yeah, so that was
Yeah, how does that work?
so something inside the parking brake mechanism broke, obviously, and it was binding between the hub and the face of the inside of the rotor, and it would just take chunks out every time it passed, and then
Oh.
it got wedged in to the divot and just punched its way out.
There were other pictures of it. Here.
Okay.
Let me stop
I'm
sharing
impre-
and
I'm
I'll find another
impressed.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I am also impressed. I've never seen anything like that in my
No.
entire life.
So
Yeah.
let's get this straight. Let me just refresh our memory here. So you co-bought a car with a guy that you live 700 miles away from.
Yes.
You took possession.
Yes.
You held it hostage for 4 months without driving it.
You are correct, sir.
Meanwhile, he has a YouTube channel
Yes.
and probably works for you for like free.
Oh, he doesn't work for me really.
Oh, okay. Well, he's creating content for you. And
Occasionally.
you finally decide to let him have the car, and you make sure to break it in a way that he has to fix it before he can even enjoy it.
Now, hang on just a moment. You didn't get to the rest of it. He drove it broken for several months,
Oh, he did. I didn't know that.
No.
and then we bought all of the parts to fix it, and then I drove back down to help him fix it.
Oh,
So don't paint me as the bad guy here.
I didn't realize that you went to fix it.
Yes, I
Nice.
went back down. I stayed with him for 2 days, and we replaced the rear trailing arm and the whole assembly. So like the brake rotor, luckily the caliper and the pads and everything were fine. So we replaced the rotor and the hub and the aluminum trailing arm, and then we bought new parking brake components and got it fixed again.
It is a beautiful car.
Oh.
It's very good.
And there's
car.
these are good pictures too.
Yeah,
It's a very,
Ethan's
very good
great.
car.
His
Mr.
Instagram.
Ethan Tufts on the Instagram. You
Yeah,
should
we'll
follow.
definitely put that in the show notes. So yeah, that's I don't think he said very clearly on his podcast and his YouTube channel that you were there to help.
Oh.
He
I
might
did
have-
a video while I was there, but that's okay.
Yeah, that's all right.
That's okay.
I'm not there for credit. That's fine. I don't care. But yeah, don't paint me as the bad guy here.
All right, you're officially forgiven.
I didn't go. Here's a shit car. Bye, dude.
But we've all done that to friends. Like, hey,
Fair.
here's a shit
Absolutely.
car.
There.
I'd like to leave my crappy cars littered all over the nation, so that when one of my crappy cars dies, I have someone somewhere that I
See,
can be like,
That's why I wanted him to have the car, because whenever I go to LA, I have a car now.
yeah,
Of course,
Yes.
I'm not going to LA at all because everything.
Not right now, but
yeah,
like
it's
later.
coronation. Nobody's going to.
Yeah,
LA.
you obviously didn't plan for this. Come on.
Right.
Mental's
I
not
will
allowed to go to LA. It's
Yeah, I'm banned from California right now. But I will say, whenever we've given each other crappy cars, it always comes with the look, man. You know what's going on.
Yeah.
and
I will say on the weekend of Radwood, I drove it to his house and was like, here, I don't have time to explain what's wrong with it. I'll be back.
it's hella busted, yo.
So right now, don't drive it. Right? Just
No,
like,
he totally could drive it. I drove it there. I drove it 200 miles with a
I
broken
mean,
rotor. Like, what's wrong with it? It was fine.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Once it punched a hole in the rotor, there's nothing.
It was
bad
yeah,
in
it was working again.
It was fine.
So you basically mentioned that the world is shut down, and we should actually mention that the world is still just coming off its coronation, whatever we want to
No,
call it.
no, we're in
Going
Nevada.
back in.
We're
Yeah.
we're round. We're
going back
gearing
in.
up for round two.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. Yeah.
Because who would have
Well,
thought Fremont Street with no mask would
Jeez.
result in a sudden spike?
who would have imagined such a thing?
well, I put this in the comment because we wanted your opinion on it, being an automotive journalist and trendsetter and everything that you are. And those are all in air quotes for those of you who aren't watching on YouTube. But like, the automotive industry is not selling a single thing right now.
Yeah. I mean,
Nobody's driving their cars.
there was a bit of a bounce back. Trucks really never slowed down. Even in March and April, they were still selling as many as they were before.
Huh.
Sedans have slowed down.
Dead anyway. I mean, right?
Yeah,
I mean, who's
already
buying
dead.
cars?
Hatchbacks have slowed down.
Since 1986, I believe.
EVs are actually up around the world. It's just part of the problem is there's a supply chain issue, and part of the problem is that there were a lot of dealerships that were closed for a while.
Yeah.
So, but that was largely East and West Coast. Everything in the middle stayed open. So
And now it's
Used
kind of
inventory.
reversing itself. Yeah.
basically, yeah.
Used inventory
mean-
is thin on the ground these days, though.
Yes, used cars are selling like crazy. I don't know.
And there's some deals out there with all the rental car companies liquidating their fleets.
Yeah. Hertz is basically Chapter 11.
Yeah.
Done,
A
right?
2019 Grand Caravan. It's a great way to go.
Yeah.
Or Altima, or
Right.
Or Chrysler
worst car in the
minivan.
world.
Well, actually, they're selling a lot of Corvettes. There was a
Yeah,
bunch of
we
Hertz
saw that
saw
article.
that.
Yeah, we talked
Hertz
about that
edition
here.
Corvettes. So,
No,
Yeah,
the racing world was shut down.
Yeah.
You're not holding any Radwoods. Lemons was
Right.
down. All the major Champ and Lucky Dog and all of those are just coming back now. So, like, what happened in like the digital media world? Because he didn't have a whole lot to. I mean, Carlos Ghosn and then like nothing else, right? I mean,
you mean as far as news for
like
July?
news, yeah.
Surprisingly, we did okay. I've never had a day where I didn't have anything to write about. There was always some kind of news to cover somewhere.
You're doing better than an amateur endurance racing podcast. I mean, I think we did. we did 2 shows on how to make your iRacing car cooler. So that's.
what? And how are the virtual side of Radwood potentially going to the car shows going? That's the other virtual thing people are trying to do.
Well, so we had a meeting earlier today trying to discuss this very thing and where we're going to go and how things are going to work. It's very much looking like there won't be any shows this year. I mean, we had a show in February in Texas, and it was our biggest show ever. Literally, we were on a crazy trajectory up and up and up and up, and then all of a sudden, now we can't do any shows. I mean, we had to refund a bunch of tickets for 2 shows that were already planned for March and April, and all of our stuff was at my dad's house in Atlanta because we were going to have a show in South Carolina. And so we had to have the van full of our stuff shipped back across the country because I wasn't going to fly back to Atlanta.
No, you're not going to get on a plane.
No. It was fine because the governor didn't know that Corona-19 could be transmitted via air until after he took the state off of lockdown.
Right. Anyway, Georgia's screwed and Nevada's screwed. It's all a mess. But anyway, so we did a couple of digital shows that went pretty well. The first one had something like 6,000 participants nationwide. Our second one was global. We had people from Australia, New Zealand, Sweden, the UK, everywhere participating in these shows. Somebody in Sweden actually won a trophy for having a totally bitchin' C4 Corvette.
Nice.
That's that turquoise one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. With the big like F40 style wing on the back.
Yeah.
That thing rules.
That has got to be cool in Sweden.
That thing rules. He's got like Testarossa side strakes on it and like big wide fenders.
Okay, so it is deep Miami Vice.
Yeah.
Because I've been on a Miami Vice kick lately. It's on Amazon. You can watch. Oh yeah, and I'm watching them all.
Yeah. So, but like we did physical trophies for our digital shows, and we tried to make it like feel like a real show. And I think it went pretty well. I don't know that there's capacity for another one, but the first 2 went pretty well. We're talking about ways that we can keep the vibe alive, and we've talked about doing like smaller, like 10-car invitationals, and then live streaming the owners talking about their own cars and going over them more in like a
Like
fine
less
tooth
cars,
comb.
more in depth.
Yeah.
That, I would genuinely enjoy something like that.
Yeah.
That
So
would be fun.
we're going to try to set something like that up. We have a thing with Nissan. We're going through their vintage collection and getting more in-depth stuff.
That's when Nissan was still cool.
Yes.
Hell yeah, they were.
Acura, luckily, has been one of our biggest supporters. They're super helping us out right now, and they're going to do something with us in the future. I can't really say what it is yet.
Yeah,
but,
we don't care. We don't like Acuras around here.
No. Oh, yeah. Oh, yes, we do.
In fact, because if I'm not mistaken, it used Acura, Honda, and I don't mean to cross the streams there, but that was the provisions of the Rad van. It was
It was, yes. Honda supplied us with an Odyssey for a year, and I put, God, what was it? 38,000 miles on it.
Because you were doing, in coordination with Grid Life and some other stuff, and we were out at Atlanta we did Grid Life. You and I did Grid Life twice. The first year you were there as a photographer, and the second year you were there as the Radwood. And it was great show because that AMG Hammer wagon showed up.
Yeah. One of
you,
one in the world. Yeah.
Yes. You and the missus had all the Radwood gear loaded up in that poor, faithfully reliable Honda Odyssey that you guys brought out there. That was awesome. So I'm a nerd, and this is the thing is you guys have always done a great job about marketing your brand, and you rotate the merchandise a lot. Because before this all started, Chrissy's wearing her Radwood shirt. I was talking about, I've got my 2 Radwood shirts, and you've got, I see the Night Flight style logo, and then the Miami Vice style logo, and then the Sundowner Stripes Radwood logo, all these shirts. There's some cool socks that now I have to get because I can wear them under my uniform and mock everybody.
2 different kinds of socks.
Yes. And the stickers.
Mm-hmm.
So
we usually when we do a print of a t-shirt or a sticker, we have like the core stuff that's always available, like the Miami Vice, the OG logo, the rainbow logo. Those are all like always going to be there.
The sticker cassette tape, and for those watching on YouTube, that's the shirt that Chrissy's wearing right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking for my Black Flag sticker.
That's
the one I love.
Those are gone. Those are gone forever.
Yeah, I have like 3 of them. They're somewhere on my desk here because I haven't put them on anything yet.
Yeah. My wife snagged that one right when it got home.
So when we do stylized shirts like this, usually they never come back. When they're gone, they're gone. So,
So if you see a cool shirt on the Radwood store, which there is a link in the show notes, you better go ahead and just get it now.
Mm-hmm. I agree. So and the decals are the same way. Like whenever we do a new decal, we do basically when we were touring, we would do one new decal for every show. And when they're gone, they're just gone.
If you had any left over, they made it to the next show, but eventually they just got
gone. They're gone. Yep. So that's how we try and keep the merch alive. Socks, I think same story. We've never run out of them because we got a ton of them, honestly. But I think once those are gone, we'll just get a different style. And then same thing with the hats. The OG hat, the trucker with the mesh back, that's always going to be there. But everything else is going to phase in and out.
It's going to phase in and out. Yeah, I don't think you had the socks at Philly when I was there. Maybe you probably did. I didn't know.
We didn't.
We did. Okay, because I definitely would have bought some socks. Not that I've worn any since like March, but
Yeah, I know. I'm barely wearing pants.
Dude, I had to put on shoes today. I almost tripped coming out of the house. It was crazy.
You're like a dog when you put those little feeties on.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, we've grown organically. Like we aren't doing a lot of promotion. We aren't doing a lot of paid ads or anything like that. It's all community. It's all people who really appreciate what we're doing. And honestly, we couldn't be where we are without the support of people who love what we're doing. So
I highly doubt there's anybody on this podcast who hasn't heard of Radwood, but we probably should plug it just in case people don't know. What is your definition of rad and Radwood?
It is an 80s and 90s festival that is centered around cars, but isn't car exclusive. So we
That's a
encourage
great
people,
way to put it. Yeah.
we encourage people to dress up and bring accessories and totally cosplay the era, and everything's a little bit more ostentatious than it was even then.
Oh yeah, it's definitely increased.
Yeah, we're taking it a little bit tongue in cheek, and but it's an appreciation for days gone by of a more analog car experience and a more accessible car experience, because these were the cars that the four of us co-founders that we grew up loving. One, because we could afford them. Two, because they were still simple enough that we could work on them ourselves. And the new cars are just like, I don't understand direct injection. I don't know how to make that work.
It's okay. Welcome to the Grumpy Old Man Club. It's fine.
Yeah.
I've been here for years.
Old man yells at cloud.
And three, because they were a very analog driving experience. It's you and the pedals and the shifter, and that's it. There's no, my Boxster is the most advanced car I have, and it barely has ABS. So, yeah.
So I was searching for the turquoise C4 on your Instagram, and I've pulled up your Instagram here, and it is fantastic. I love the red wheels.
Tri-spokes.
There was a guy on, and it was in, I think, the Facebook page, I'm not sure, who posted up the I think it was Spalding wheels.
Yeah.
They were amazing.
Japan had the best wheels in the 80s and 90s. It was amazing. They branded everything with, whatever. it's pretty crazy.
If you haven't,
adventurous design.
Yeah, if you haven't gone down the rabbit hole of either the Radwood Facebook page or the Radwood Instagram page, absolutely do that, because even if you didn't grow up in the 80s, understanding the style and just some of the amazingly, ahead of their time cars that were out there.
If you want to see that C4, his Instagram is at by_Bjork, BY_BJORK. And it's even better than you think it's going to be.
By underscore, where the hell is the underscore?
I mentioned I'm on a Miami Vice kick, and it was one of the reviews I was reading on there, and they said now that we've gotten over our, immediately following the decade, there's always this backlash of that was the worst thing ever.
Sure.
And now people are starting to embrace, and not just the ahead of their times kind of stuff that was going on, but they were trying new stuff. A lot of, because it costs so much now to bring a car to market, they're just building them on existing platforms. But at the time, they were just, why wouldn't Honda, who's famous for the CVCC, build a mid-engine supercar? It'll be fine.
Yeah.
And so, and there is just any of the Miami Vice body Testarossa inspired body kits.
Just look at that amazing thing.
That thing is hella flush right there.
Yes, it is. He goes through tires like.
Well, it doesn't actually go anywhere.
I suppose.
Whoa. Go back. Don't tease me by skipping over that Volvo wagon.
That Volvo.
Oh, yeah. Oh, somebody just got some inspiration for a new color. Anyway, Chrissy, so you guys all drove up for the Radwood Philly event, which I think was right after we had you on last time.
Yes.
I think so.
Yeah, it would have been, it wasn't last year, it was the year before. So, yeah. Yep.
And I remember Jeff got lost in the bicycles, and Chrissy understood theming. She was like, no, it's not just a car show. It's an experience.
I mean, it was minimal, but it was all my own stuff. So I had a very sequined hat, and people could not get enough of my Walkman.
Your Walkman was
this is like my actual Walkman. It was a shame that I didn't realize people wanted to listen to it, and I didn't have any batteries that were working, with a fresh New Kids on the Block from '86 tape. So, and I had
for a flea market.
Fantastic sunglasses that I got from a Pizza Hut giveaway that are so 80s that it hurts.
It hurts.
Yes. So, yes, I sported a little bit. It could have done better, but because there's people that, like you said, they go all out. They do There's plenty of people that were very impressive costuming, and some of it which purchased, some of which legit probably came from their basement kind of thing. It was pretty.
Yeah. I thought the greatest moment of the show was when the guy showed up with the headphones that matched your Walkman. Like it was the yellow sport Sony, like waterproof.
Yeah,
you had
just
like regular headphones, and then he showed up with the yellow Sony
The right
sport
ones. Yeah.
headphones, and he was like, he held out like the end. It was like, I don't even have a Walkman.
I
And you're
know,
like,
I was like,
I don't even have
We
headphones.
have the Walkman. Yeah, it didn't work though. It was poor set of mine.
We're glad that you're keeping this alive, and obviously we love it and we want it to stay alive. And anything that anybody does with cars is cool with us, even if it's stupid like Hella Flush. We know you're out there. We don't like you. No, we do like you as long as you drive it hard. I'm kidding. But this coronavirus, this world pandemic, could crush.
I have
there you are.
pictures. Hold on. This is actually from an 80s day at work.
Fabulous.
That's great.
No. That's not fabulous. That's rad.
Rad.
Yeah.
Totally rad.
So we're really glad you're keeping it up, because we want to see it again, and we want to go to another show, and we want to
do
be
too.
there.
We
Yeah.
do too. I guess all I can say is wear your mask and stay away from people, and try and beat this thing as a nation, which, boy, it doesn't sound like we're trying very hard. And eventually things will come back. I don't think we'll ever find ourselves living in the life of January 2020 ever again. I think that life has changed from now till eternity. But we can get back to some kind of normalcy. When? Who knows?
Yeah.
I guess it'll be when we have some kind of vaccine or something. But
Herd immunity or vaccine, right? We get one or the other.
man, herd immunity is going to be tough.
All right.
Yeah,
I want
a lot of dead people.
Yeah.
I know we're,
Well, and it sounds like it might not even be in existence. Never mind. We're going down the wrong hole. We're talking about cars here.
I know.
Mental, ask your question.
Wrong hole.
Oh, no.
Wrong hole. No.
Chris.
Surprise!
Chris actually has a question.
Never good.
We're going to end this on a
I was
positive
just. Oh, okay. I thought we were wrapping up.
No, go ahead.
I just want to hear about the garage floor, because I always wanted to do the epoxy garage floor. So, what tips and tricks? What did you learn from doing that? Because that seems like a great idea.
Well, luckily, I wrote the whole experience up for jalopnik.com, so you can read it there.
Perfect. I'll go read it.
But it was a ton of work. So when we bought the house, it had this little garage, and it's a little smaller than my old garage, and it's definitely got shorter roof, and it wasn't insulated. It's just a metal box in the desert, so it gets to be 150 degrees in there, which is awesome.
Yeah.
It's a dry heat.
It's a dry heat. But it had cracks in the floor from settling, and it had just kind of old nasty floor and some oil spots and stuff like that. So I wanted to clean it up and get it nice, so that if I ever spill oil again,
Yeah, it's a win.
I'll be able to clean that up relatively easily. So everything that I got, I bought from Lowe's. It's not a supported thing. I actually paid the $350 for all the materials. And it was a ton of work. The prep work is the most important thing. You have to wash.
That's with every single thing ever.
Yeah.
You tell us.
Let me
everything
Yeah.
that you're gonna say is exactly what we've been doing. Just say it. We'll say ding, ding. Yes.
So I started by sweeping and then washing the floor, just to get all the dirt and everything out of there. Then I cut into the cracks with a crack chaser wheel. It's just a metal cutoff wheel that you put on your grinder and just go to town. And it cut the concrete like butter. I did not expect it to cut that quick. But you just throw that in there and just and dust is everywhere. So make sure you wear full face protection, because gray lung is not a great thing. So once you've got all that chased out, then you've got dust again. So you have to sweep and wash, and then you have to etch the concrete to give the paint something to stick to. because it was a very smooth finish, and paint doesn't like to stick to smooth finishes. So I did an etch and then let that sit for a bit, and then had to wash that out. And of course, there's slopes, so all of the water ran to one side of the garage. So then I had to use a squeegee to get all the water out, and I had to do this 5 times. Then I filled all of the cracks with this like bonding epoxy filler that expands. And then I had to grind it down flat with the concrete again. And anywhere that there was oil stains, I had to grind that so that the paint would stick, because it doesn't
Absolutely
stick to oil.
Fish eyes otherwise around it, yeah.
And
You've
and
officially talked
then-
me out of this. This sounds like an awful job.
Because I was
it took
picking
me
on you
3
on
full days. It took me
I
3
was-
full days to get it done.
I was picking on you on Twitter, and I'm like, you said, "Oh, I'll have this done by Sunday," and I'm like, "You will not have this done by Sunday."
You know what I did?
You had it done by
Had it
Sunday.
done by Sunday.
Eat my words. So proper.
I emptied the garage Thursday night after work. I had Friday off because it was 4th of July weekend. So Friday I did the wash, the cut, and the etch. And then Friday night I did the epoxy. And then Saturday morning I ran out of epoxy, so I had to go buy more. And then I waited for that to dry, and then I cut it all. I ground it all flat, and then I actually used a scraper, like a metal blade scraper I was able to hammer on the end of it to get it scraped off. And then
Sounds terrible. So,
it was awful.
yeah.
And then Saturday night, I did the first coat of epoxy, and then Sunday morning I did the second coat of epoxy, and then Sunday afternoon I did the third coat of epoxy. And then it was ready to go. It was dry. And so Monday morning I moved everything back in and wrote a piece about it and had it published Monday afternoon. So
Nice.
that
Yeah, so-
was
And that's
ton
not
of
even
work.
that's not even the latest picture, because you just got done. You used your Buick Cross Tour to bring in insulation. And you got it all insulated.
Tour X.
This is
Tour
this
X,
is a-
sorry.
this
Cross
is a
Tour is
hashtag longer
Volvo.
for life. So you took great pictures here.
Thank
We
you.
can see the article. It's on Jalobnik. What is it? Epoxy coating my garage floor was the worst. Was the hardest work, but worth it.
Hard work, but worth it.
Hard
Yeah.
work, but worth it.
Hard part is
And
getting
I
everything
even-
out of the garage to be able to do this.
Yes,
I wouldn't-
that was not easy. Yeah. We actually, so the weekend before this, I was like, hey, help me organize the garage so that we can get everything ready to take it all back out and then put it back in. And she was like, why? But yeah, so we got to a point where it's livable. Now I need some kind of roof covering. I need insulation for the roof. I need probably another layer of metal on the roof so that it has an
Wow.
air gap.
Air gap, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to put solar panels on the roof, and that will help with heat as well. But last time I measured, the outside of the roof was 147 degrees and the inside of the roof was 133 degrees.
Oh, Nevada.
Yeah, it's a microwave. It's an oven. It's baking me from the roof down. So I need to get the roof taken care of next. That's going to be a big task. But the 912E just moved in for a bit of rework and needs basically all new front suspension. There's a lot of new bits in there, but it's still not right. So I've got to figure out what's wrong and throw parts at it until it's fixed. So.
That always works.
Yeah.
Good luck. Yeah.
Well, it's had a shimmy in the steering. The steering kind of just does this when you're going down the highway, and it's had that for the entire time I've owned it, 30,000 miles.
It's fine.
It's fine.
It's probably fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it really does a number on front tires. So it has really bad front camber wear. Or it's probably not camber. It's probably
Shake.
something is wrong in the front suspension.
Something loose.
it's wearing the insides of the front tires. And I'm tired of going through $500 in tires every 5,000 miles. And so I'm going to try and figure it out. And I've been trying to figure it out. I've replaced the shocks, the ball joints, the control arms, the tie rod ends. Yeah, so I'm running out of things to replace.
Yeah, really.
I see Chris's wheels turning though. Chris is it's like someone just said there's a mystery to Fred when he's driving the van, and he's like, "Oh, hang on, gang."
Wait, is it German? Can I look at it?
Yeah.
No, I am so sick of working on stuff right now. I don't care. I just don't care. Good luck. Have fun. Yeah.
So I turned off my background video so we can move on to the next part. But
Yes.
what do you want? Is there anything you want to plug? We've talked about Jalopnik. We've talked about Radwood. Is there?
I think that's enough about me. Everybody knows me by now. No, I just support Radwood as much as you can. We'll be back eventually. It'd be great if you would buy some merch. I'm the one who has to ship it, so you're just making me do more work. But
so even if you don't like Bradley, buy a Radwood shirt.
Right.
Make me do work.
Yeah.
So, anybody want to do anything? Chrissy, do you want to yell anything? Want to yell on the spot? We have it on the spot. This is we have 3 different kinds of things we do. Hello, sweet or butter. Thank you. On the spot. Just the tip where Chrissy gives a safety tip, and on the spot where we ask somebody a question and they must answer it immediately.
Yeah.
Usually everybody has to around the horn.
Usually, and
Is it a question about that 914 engine lid grill?
Yes. Question about that 914 engine lid. That's right there. We knew you weren't gonna. We knew you to. So.
Is it about the color? Because that's Ravenna green.
It is. That's what I wanted to know. What is the color?
Yeah, it's Ravenna green.
Well, that was the fastest on the spot ever. Thank you. That's good.
We get this.
Was that a quiz or was that a? You didn't
Like
know.
stump the dummy, or what are
Right,
you
but
trying to
which
do?
way did we
That
go
was-
here?
That was an Old West showdown where like the one guy starts to pull his gun and
Fastest
then
draw in the West.
exactly, and then the Waco kid literally shoots the guns out of 10 people's hands, and you never see him move. That's what that was.
So there's a story behind this. Is I was helping a friend during Coronation clean out their father's garage. Their father had passed away,
Okay.
and they said there's all this like car chemicals, like old oil and old antifreeze. Can you come like tell us what's worth it and what isn't? So it was this little tiny garage, and I went there and I started saying like obviously your father never really knew that he still had half a gallon of antifreeze, and he bought another gallon and then he used half of it. So there's like 37 half gallons. So I stayed there and I helped, and I was helping clean up like bug stuff and the chemicals, pool chemicals. I was basically like on chemical patrol. And she said, over in the corner, there's a bunch of like car parts. Look at them too. And I found a wooden shift knob
Okay.
from a Porsche. And I said, well, who owned a Porsche? And they said, well, not us. You know, the people who we bought the house off of like 20 years ago, they like restored cars or something.
Okay.
So it was this little tiny like 2-car garage, and it had like, if you put a ladder, you could get to the like space above, and they pulled like a car part out, and I'm like, I don't know, air-cooled Volkswagens, put it over there. I don't know, that looks like swing arm from an air-cooled Volkswagen, put it over there. And then all of a sudden they pulled out a box that said 914 parts. And I said, ooh, wait a minute. Oh, wait a minute. So we quickly, our friend who's the Porsche fan who has all the 914s, I quickly started showing pictures of everything. And out of the ceiling came 3 different engine covers, most of a brown interior, a pair of black
brown 914
seats,
interior?
a brown 914 interior that
Wow,
was
that's rare.
actually in good shape.
That's
The
really
rear
rare.
card, the seats, like a couple of door frames. So like he said, if these are 914 parts, you're gonna find an empty transaxle sooner or later. And absolutely, I did. Like I'm like, oh look, I found one. So yeah, so we took all the. I filled up my entire Nissan Titan, filled with stuff in the back seat. I took it down to him, and I got a glimpse into the world of the rare but not valuable car world, where it was like, oh, that's a blah blah blah. That's definitely somebody needs that. I'm definitely going to keep that because I know somebody needs that. That's probably worth like $5.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
So
there's
I got
a lot of that, and 914 guys. I sold parts to 914 guys for 4 years, and they are some of the cheapest and most discerning customers you could ever have. Like they're like, what do you mean that's $7? I expected it to be higher quality than that. So yeah.
So this transaxle was empty. And he said, oh yeah, that's magnesium. That's worth a lot of money. The scrap guy will pay me. I'm like, scrap what?
Yeah.
And it's a transmission case.
They're not really worth anything, and I've thrown more than one magnesium transmission case on a fire before.
Yeah.
A lot of sparks. It's really cool.
And you got to meet Eric at NJMP when you guys did Radwood up there. He was like the nominally nice guy doing the DJ bit. So yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Did he DJ at that? I didn't remember him DJing at that one.
I think that's how he found out he was a DJ, because he ended up over at the party bar, the race bar.
Oh, race bar. You're right. You could be. Anyway, so that's what I wanted to know. I wanted to know what color it was. There were 3 different engine covers. All 3 of them were green. All 3 of them were different greens.
Different greens. And that was the great thing about Porsche in the 70s. You had a million different color choices.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
And this must have
like 10.
This must have been
you can get any color
one...
you want. It just costs you $10,000.
Well,
yeah,
sure.
Exactly. Yeah. This must have been the one that their car was actually the color of, because they had a window frame, like a front window frame that was cut off. And it was that color, and this was the most dented one.
I've cut a 914 and a half before.
Yeah. So clearly whoever had it said, oh, I need an engine cover because mine's dented, and he ordered a green one. And a dark green one showed up, and then he ordered another green one, and then like the bright green one showed up, and then he finally, I don't know.
A buddy of mine in Atlanta was building a Ravenna green 914 with a 3-rotor Mazda rotary engine.
That'd get moving pretty good.
Yeah. He was going like naturally aspirated individual throttle bodies with it. It looked pretty awesome. I never got to see it finished, but
it sounds like a never-ending project without a doubt.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, all right. Does anyone else have anything else to say to Bradley before we wish him goodbye?
No, thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, this has been great.
2 years.
Yeah, sounds good.
I'll be back on the show in 2 years.
Actually, I think I'm driving that way Wednesday, depending on which way Waze takes me. I got to go to Washington State.
Oh, Jesus. That's quite a trip.
Why do you got to go to Washington State?
I'm judging the lemons at the Ridge.
He just wants an excuse to go somewhere and stretch the AMG's legs.
Exactly. Well, because it's my choice of, I could get onto an airplane. Well, I say it's not even the airplane that bothers me. I could walk to an airport full of germy people who say, I'm asking infringement on my rights. Or I could sit in my air-conditioned seat with a really good stereo and the ability to outspeed most airplanes on takeoff roll. So think about that one. Yeah.
It's all sounds so wonderful. We're going to be fixing boats and getting Miatas prepped over in the East Coast here.
Yeah. Next Wednesday we're going to be back to car work, getting things running. So.
Well, thank you, Bradley, for joining us. Thank you for downloading us or watching us on YouTube, depending on how you're picking this up. We hope you enjoyed this week's edition of Everyone Racers. We also hope you'll join us in the world of driving, racing, and building, because everyone can be a racer, even you. If you enjoyed this podcast, subscribe. It's totally free. Do you understand? We're doing this totally. We don't even have ads.
You get what you pay for.
Costing us money. I had to buy a green sheet, for crying out loud.
And a trombone.
And a trombone. No, I didn't buy the trombone. Somebody else did. So if you enjoy this podcast, subscribe. It's totally free. Then this is how you can pay us. Go to iTunes and give us a 5-star rating. Even if you hate us, give us 5 stars and tell us why. If you have any questions or show ideas, drop a comment on the Facebook page, Everyone Racers, or email us at everyone.racers@gmail.com. Find us on Instagram or Twitter or YouTube's. Thanks again, and until next week, keep the how do you Ravenna green? What? How do you say it?
Ravenna.
Ravenna green. Keep the Ravenna green side up. Unless you don't have a green Porsche, then just keep the wheels down.